Summon Sign is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello everyone, welcome to episode 26 of Summon Sign, Last Stand Media's weekly in-depth gaming discussion podcast. I'm your host as always, and joining me this week are Micah Moriarty. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. I'm gonna keep things a little formal today, I think. Brad, I'm gonna refer to you as Bradford.
Sure.
And Cog, you're gonna be Cogsworth. All right, because I don't want any funny business. This is a very serious podcast,
serious.
you know.
Is
and
my
I just
Is my full name more serious? Bradley?
no, Bradworth is your full name, son.
Okay.
Don't act like I don't know it.
Bradworth it
This-
is. Very well.
This harkens back to when I worked at GNC. I had this coworker named Ken, and I had like a dead serious moment with my boss when I was like, "What's Ken short for?" And he was like, "Well, what do you think it's short for?" And I was like, "Kendallin." You know, like, and I knew Kenneth was a name. But I just forgot. Like, it really was one of those things that I don't think I'd ever
That's
met
awesome.
a Kenneth. And then he was just, once he told me, I was like, oh my God. Like, we were. But yeah, so if I had to guess what Brad was short for, the guess is Bradworth.
Okay. I don't think anyone's ever guessed that, but we'll roll. That's
That's
totally fine.
royalty.
You can call me Bradworth all you want.
Very posh.
Yes. And joining us also, a real life Gears of War character with those biceps, Lord Cognito. Everyone, I met Cog during Keely's birthday party, whatever you want to call it, his whole celebration. Biggest biceps I've seen on a man in a long time. Humongous biceps. Cog, what supplements are you taking? You gotta tell me.
Of GNC, good old creatine.
Okay, I'm on creatine right now.
Good old creatine. I take glucosamine for my joints because I'm older. And obviously, to be, in my opinion, to have bigger arms, you need to use free weights a little bit more.
Right.
And unfortunately, the byproduct of that is stress on your joints. So you got to be careful. So yeah, for me, it's always fish oil, glucosamine, that kind of stuff to help with the recovery and stuff like that. It doesn't help I have an arthritic condition, but I'm okay on that front, on the doctor's front. But yeah, those are the little secrets, the inside baseball to that.
How much protein?
Protein's a lot.
Yeah.
So
how many shakes you have in a day?
So pretty much whey protein as soon as I wake up, like that's the first thing in the body. And then, so that's about, I do, what's
20,
it, ISO?
25?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit more. I'll do, it's about 30, I think, in ISO Pure. I use ISO Pure because I'm lazy. So I use what is called a RTD, a ready to drink.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's already pre-mixed. ISO Pure,
That's
it's
nice.
expensive, but it's nice. So I do that. So whey in the morning, and then workout post, I use a combination of, no, I still do whey. I'm bugging. I do whey at post. Whey at night, that's the key. At night, I use casein. So casein is a slow digesting protein. So while you sleep, you're still getting a little bit during the night. And that I usually mix up between either one that I either make myself, or if I'm really lazy, I'll get muscle milk, which is half casein and half whey. So those are like the protein throughout the day kind of stuff.
What vitamins are you taking?
I use pretty much an
Daily?
airborne. I use an
Okay.
airborne in for like my C and stuff like that. I have a vitamin D specific supplement because I remember that used to be a problem. And then there's one more. No, the glucosamine stuff. So kind of like an all vitamin and an airborne and a vitamin D specifically.
Damn.
In the morning when I wake up, it's like a whole process.
Yeah, that's how you
like I
do
got
it,
like
bro.
them all lined up. It's a thing. It's a thing in the morning. It's hilarious, and I'm very religious with it.
That's good.
Well,
I need to get better about all that kind of stuff too, because it does help a lot.
It helps. It really does. And I notice a difference with my energy, my mood. You know, it really does help. And the other thing that I have to do is more water. Like I think I drink a lot of water, but the reality is I don't. So got the liter size Poland Springs, kind of thing going on and stuff like that. But yeah, it's upkeep to do this. It's a lot of upkeep.
Micah, I didn't know you worked at GNC before. Are
I
you
didn't
into
know
fitness
either.
or anything like that?
Oh, at the time I wasn't. I did work at GNC back in my college days. It was a pretty good job. I liked it a lot, learned a lot. No, I mean, these days I do exercise regularly,
Okay.
but back when I worked at GNC, no, I didn't work out at all. I strictly sold the products. It was one of those things, though, that like I've always been a small person. So people were just like, oh, yeah, you look physically fit. You look like you could work here. And, I fit the bill, basically. But yeah, it's just funny because all the things Cog's mentioning, it's like, yeah, I remember doing all these talking points like the casein at night, selling people on the creatine, because yeah, all these things work, but yeah, you gotta as a salesperson, it's like this is your livelihood. You're in commission on things, so it's like it's all based on like how well can you sell people on it. That I was not good at that though.
Damn.
I used to live in GNC. It's so funny. I would definitely be talking to a person like you all the time when stuff came in. And how about this flavor? Does this taste better than this?
Oh, exactly. And we would get samples of things. Like we'd get a lot of free samples. I wouldn't use them myself, partly because I was lactose intolerant. But I would just be like, have my roommate taste it and be like, which one of these you like better? So when people are like, oh, is the chocolate better or the cookies and cream? It's like chocolate. The cookies and cream was gross. But it's like I didn't taste it, but my best friend did. So, but I do still go to GNC because I do take their vitamins. So it's fun to just go in there every couple months, and just see what's different versus when I worked there in 2012, So it's been a long time.
Yeah. Crazy. Oh, yeah. Huge over here. That and Vitamin Shop. Those are the two big ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we're getting a vitamin shop now. So I'm just like, whoa. They're stepping into our territory here. I mean, I've been a GNC loyalist ever since. I still have my work shirt, actually, because you had to buy your own shirt, which kind of sucked. But so I still have it because I was like, I'm not throwing away this $20 shirt that I had to buy on my $8 an hour wages. Hello. But it's like, now we got Vitamin Shop coming into town. I don't know how I feel about it.
You gotta watch out for the Vitamin Shop dudes. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they're coming. All right, before we get into the show, please check us out on patreon.com/laststandmedia. If you'd like to support us, we greatly appreciate it. Get early access to pretty much all of our content and Sacred Symbols Plus extra perks like that. So please consider it. Oh, and of course, early access to Punching Up, our Nintendo podcast that Micah is also on. And Defining Duke, our Xbox podcast with Lord Cognito here and Matthew. All that stuff. And of course, the Sacred Boys and Sacred Symbols. So please check that out. Also, laststandmedia.store if you want some merchandise of us, like this Summon Shine shirt right here. I'm holding it up for the audio listeners. If you want the logo on that, we got we had the Health is Wealth pre-orders on there for a while, but I believe they're over now. But those should be going out soon. So that'll be exciting to see everyone wearing those. Do we have any more of those? I should have snagged one. I didn't even think about it. Damn.
We potentially, we didn't order like extras, but if anyone cancels their order, I'll let you know.
Micah, yeah, you let me know if anything comes up. I want that tank top, man. It's summertime.
Yeah, sun's out. You know how it is.
Exactly. All right. First write-in real quick. We got a quick correction from Portugal to Mark. I don't remember this, but hey, everyone. Just a minor correction for Brad this week regarding the recent Gears of War trailer shown off at the Xbox showcase. It's not a CG cutscene, it's an in-engine cutscene. Slight difference, I know. Cheers and have a Defining Duke as an Xbox podcast kind of day.
Oh yeah.
Cog,
I'm sorry.
It's so good, man. Every time so sometimes a weird podcast because I get crossover from all the fan bases on here, and I can always tell who's a Duke fan, who's an Ellison fan, who's a Snark Tank fan, specifically Punching Up fans. It's really funny. I can always tell.
Yeah. You can always tell, the corrections or the verbiage and the way they end it off. You can always tell, absolutely.
This is from GameSpot regarding that there was like a whole snafu about all this, I guess, Cog. You might have been aware. Like Keeley said some stuff and some people got upset. Some devs got involved. But this was what a spokesperson from the coalition told GameSpot. The Gears of War E-Day trailer was made in collaboration across the coalition. Blur Studios and GNet developed using in-game models, textures, and environments, all captured in Unreal Engine 5. It was not captured in real time, as some have suggested. That's a whole lot going on there.
Yes.
Now we're getting to the point where these in-game things are starting to look like CG. It's getting crazy out there.
Yeah, man. It is really... I'm impressed with just Unreal Engine 5 in general. I mean... I think since Tekken 8 and all these games that's been UE5 now, I mean, they're blowing away. I think Coalition kind of uses this process as kind of like a test bed before they do releases and stuff like that. So it's kind of, par for the course for them kind of thing.
Sure.
But it goes to show you, how impressive, this stuff could eventually end up looking. So, yeah, of course, once release happens, the people will do the compare and contrast and see,
Mhm.
if it meets the actual goal and stuff like that. But usually these things, I always look at them as visual placeholders right
Yeah.
before release. But man, I forget all that. Marcus and Dom is back, baby.
Yeah.
This is the Gears
Very
I love.
excited.
I know we got to be back. I know because I had grown man tears in the theater. So for me, I didn't care about what's happening with 4 and 5. This is the Gears I love. This is the Gears I grew up on. And yeah, also as a person who's a tactics fan, the potential to go back into the past is really exciting to me. I played tactics, and that was 10 years before the original Gears of War and Gabe Diaz. So there's a potential crossover there and Pendulum War. If you're
Mm.
deep in the lore of Gears, there's an excitement that they're going back. So I don't care if they never finish the other one. It's just me. I'm selfish. I'm selfish. I apologize,
Yeah.
Gears 4 and 5 fans. I'm just a little selfish.
Yeah. I mean, I think 4 and 5, the cast aren't nearly as captivating as Marcus and Dom. It's like, it's unfair, honestly. I
True.
enjoyed those games. I had fun with them. I had a good time. But that cliffhanger ending, man, for 5. What are you guys going to do about that? You just going to write a comic book or something and just call it a day? I wonder.
Yeah, according to the coalition, they just said they're not going to abandon it, but they said this opportunity was too tantalizing for them to not take advantage of. So
Sure.
we'll see.
They're giving the people what they want.
Yeah.
Micah, I know you're a huge Gears of War fan. How excited
Yeah.
were you about that trailer?
Oh, no, like over the moon excited, because for me, the best part of Gears 4 and 5 was the multiplayer.
Mhm.
Both of those exceptional multiplayer. I played a lot of it, but I was disappointed in the changes made to Horde mode on both of those. The campaign was okay, not great. There's some cool stuff in there, and kind of throwbacks to Gears Judgment in some ways, like trying to tie that all in, but I don't know. It just was not nearly as strong a story as, Gears, 1, 2, and 3.
Oh,
So, and
sure.
Judgment, even Judgment, I liked better, honestly, than 4 and 5. But yeah, they thought of going back in time. It's like, oh, sweet. So this means that Horde mode would be more traditional, hopefully. Like, it's an excuse to go back to the best Horde mode, Gears 2, in my opinion. And it's like, let's roll it back there. The variety of enemies that they had in that game, the simplified style. I liked Horde and Gears 3, but 2 is the peak for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm really stoked to see that type of stuff too. It's like, what are we going to do with Horde? What are we going to do with multiplayer? But yeah, this opportunity to go back for a prequel, I'm stoked about it.
Mm-hmm. One last question. Cog, is this going to be a Series XS game, or is this going to be on the next hardware, do you think?
Ooh, good question. No, I think actually that's a great question. Man, if I had the gun to my head, it would be the rumors are 2026 for a potential new console.
Next gen. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And their cadence usually with trailer releases have been kind of recently have been years away when they show a trailer at the games.
Yeah, 2 years. I mean, I've heard conflicting reports that I've heard some people say, hey, it's not as far as you think. But, I don't know. If I get gun to my head, I'm going to be conservative and say this kind of like just one more thing moment usually tends to be way out. So
sure,
I'm going to be conservative and say like a 2026, kind of thing. And hey, it would align perfectly with a new, next gen console.
That is a launch game.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a launch game. That's a great one. I think that'd be really strong.
They
need a strong launch game. They didn't. I'm trying to. What did Series X launch with?
It was supposed to launch with Halo Infinite on the back of the box.
I don't remember. Like I got Like a Dragon. That's what I got when I bought my Series X. I don't remember what they launched with. Nothing big first party.
Nothing really big first party. If I remember, I think it was just tactics, Like a Dragon. I remember because the Halo Infinite stuff got delayed, and then they had some EA games, stuff like that. So it was a very weak launch with no big exclusives, if I remember.
Dang. Well, yeah, hopefully they can rectify it. But yeah, shout out to Gears. We all love it. Yeah. Good to see it coming back with the boys, Marcus and Dom. All right, this is from Cammie Black. Greetings, poop smugglers. Question from Micah. I assume this is some inside joke I'm not even going to ask.
I don't know this.
Okay, no, I guess we're just poop smugglers. If you had to live in the world of Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, or Harvest Moon, which would it be and why?
See, if I'm being honest, I love all these. I'm going to go with Animal Crossing because it seems the easiest. Like
Right.
Animal Crossing, there's just fruit growing everywhere. Like
Right.
you Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon, you're working. All right. In the game, it's fun, but in real life, do I want to wake up and like you have 30 minutes, like 30 real minutes to milk a cow, go on a hike, tend your fields, and then you gotta like go back to sleep? Like this sounds terrible. I'm gonna go Animal Crossing because first, everyone's cute in that world, so that'd be fun.
Mhm.
You're under crushing financial debt. I'm used to that. And yeah, it just seems like a lot less work. You know, you can go to the island and go fishing with that cool turtle guy. Everything
Right.
in Animal Crossing seems pretty cool. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah. I want Apollo as my neighbor because he was the fitness eagle, right? That guy was awesome.
Yeah, the only neighbor I hate is Pietro, who's like the clown sheep. And
Ew.
I always bully Pietro into leaving. Like in like the older versions of the game where you just like put pitfalls like outside their house and stuff, and like so they'd walk out their door and like fall in it, or you just keep bumping into them until they get upset with you because it's like I don't like this guy one bit. I hate clowns. Like you gotta go. You just gotta go. Like Pietro's the only villager that I'm actively aggressive towards.
I've never seen this guy.
Oh, he sucks.
Cog, have you ever played Animal Crossing? Just curious.
A little bit, very little. Not for me, but I see the addiction, and I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
I could be on this island, I could be doing my farming thing, going to people's houses and stuff like that. I get it. I totally get why it is what it is. So yeah, salute to the Animal Crossing bros and gals. I see y'all.
Yeah, the addiction is the word for it, and I can't tell you how disappointed I was. Was it Animal Crossing Wild World that was on Wii? The world was very round, and it made me nauseous, and I couldn't play it. For some reason, the way that it scrolled across the screen, they made the world just like extremely round, and I honestly couldn't play it. And I had never been so disappointed because I was hyped for it. I loved Animal Crossing on GameCube, and then I was like really excited for it, and I couldn't play it for more than like 10 minutes at a time. I ended up just completely giving up on it because the world was, like Galaxy, which also made me nauseous. I just couldn't play it. Something about it just really bothered me.
Damn. Yeah, I've only ever played the GameCube Animal Crossing, which I played a lot of when it came out. I loved that game. So fun. Me and my friends used to rotate. We'd set timers for each other because we'd play on one GameCube like at a house. You get 30 minutes, you do your thing, then the next person's up 30 minutes. Fight over trees, not to chop them down or steal fruits. It was wonderful. But I did play the Switch one a little bit, and I enjoy it. I'm not a huge fan of those games, but I think they're very charming, and I see the appeal to them, and I respect them. But I just can't get it doesn't get its hooks into me as much as I want. But hopefully in the next one. Shout out Animal Crossing. All right, this is from Kyle's son. Hey all, I heard this show was about talking shit now. You have the perfect guest for some shenanigans. Yeah, I was saying this is the show everyone comes to snitch about other shows because someone says a take on some other show, then everyone says it to me. Everyone snitches to me about all the problems.
To you about it.
Yeah, all the problems at LSM.
Let's go.
So you could snitch to me all you want. We'll put everyone on blast. All right. I heard the show was about talking shit, so here's some shenanigans. Here's our Kyle-san wrote our D&D affiliation chart. Lawful good, Dagon. Neutral good, me. Chaotic good, Gene, Lockmort. Lawful neutral, Cog, Hogue. True neutral, Dustin, Ben. Chaotic neutral, Micah, Chris. Lawful evil, Colin. And neutral evil, Maddie. Chaotic evil, Jaffe. Discuss a potential merchandising opportunity in this.
Wow. This is good. I don't feel like I deviate too much. Maybe true neutral. What do they got? Dustin and Ben and true neutral. That's an interesting one. I think a lot and Matt, I gotta see how we feeling about Maddie though. How I feel about Maddie's neutral evil though. Like that's
he's a Sonic fan, so I think he belongs there.
Yeah, y'all getting. I noticed a lot of Sonic slander from y'all.
He goes on. I love making fun of Sonic. Fear not, Cog. I had a Genesis when I was very young.
Come on.
I loved the Sonic. I was one of those kids fortunate enough to have a Genesis and a Super Nintendo, so I was the kid on the block. I had it made.
Oh, everybody wanted to be your friend.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. That was when I was at my peak. I had it all. But later on, I never had all of the systems at a time. Because then we got to 3, Xbox came in. But I was like, I'm sorry, Sega, I gotta stick with PlayStation to get those RPGs I want.
Yeah,
I love the Dreamcast, so I love that system. It's so good.
So
and
good.
I really want to play Sega Saturn games. I missed all of them. And I know there's amazing games on there. So I want to get back to it.
We share very similar histories there.
Yeah. But I love making fun of Sonic just because of the fans. I like Sonic games. I play them. I enjoy them. They're good. I just like annoying the fans. That's the way it is. I get it all. I get the heat. I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan. It happens. What goes around comes around. That's all I'll say about that.
No doubt.
Micah, how you feeling about being a chaotic neutral on here? I would say this is pretty accurate. Some of the statements you had, one sock sleeping, all that stuff, it's pretty chaotic.
Yeah, and I agree with that because while that is chaotic, I do agree it's not hurting anybody. So like that's the definition of chaotic neutral. Like me sleeping with one sock on at night, it's not bothering anybody.
Exactly.
All right, and I only shared that to help others. Have you tried it, Brad? Did you try sleeping with one sock on?
It's too hot, Micah. I can't do that yet.
Colin,
I know you
ever
sleep
tried
with Colin in like a bed where he's got an icebox going and fans going, so I understand that. It's just too hot right now. I have not
tried that. The only time that has happened is by accident. During the course of the night.
She swears by it.
It does. It really is just the perfect medium of like, oh, you're slightly too cold, but 2 socks is too hot. You just pop off one of them socks. That's the way to do it.
Okay, all right.
Micah, I will say I've seen a couple psychopaths agree with you and being like, I'm a one sock guy too. Like they're all into it as well. It like reminds me of the Manson family. You guys are a bunch of psychos. So we'll stay away from that.
It was the same as when I mentioned I liked hot lettuce on a sandwich. And the few people who were like, oh, hell yeah, hot lettuce. It was like, yeah, there's other people out there who do this. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one putting the lettuce on first.
Micah, we're going to have to take you to court. You got one sock, hot lettuce, soda, the flat soda. But actually, I'm with you on flat soda. Oh, you didn't know about this?
I didn't know about flat soda.
Micah, explain.
Why?
Yes, Micah, explain. Go ahead, Micah.
Oh, no. Okay. The best thing, you buy a nice 2 liter of any soda. Ginger ale is my favorite. But like by day 4, when it starts to get a bit flat, that's when like it starts getting really good. By day 7, it's at its peak. All right. It gets a little bit of that syrupy texture because like the carbonation's gone, but it's the process. People are like, oh, well, just shake it up. I don't want to shake it up. I don't want to artificially flatten the soda. I want to enjoy the journey of day by day. It gets flatter and flatter, and like by day 7, you're at that best soda in the whole bottle. Oh yeah. No, flat soda. I mean, do warm side of the pillow. I mean, the list goes on.
Warm side of the pillow. Damn it, Baker.
I hate the cold side. The cold side of the pillow is terrible. You ever like it flips over by accident at night and it just jars you awake? I can't stand it.
I feel like the next live show we need to have a Micah segment where we all try her crazy ideas. We'll have the warm lettuce.
Yes.
All this weird stuff that we could think of. Anything that weird that Micah does, we got to try. We got to settle it in real time.
I agree.
Oh, yeah. We got to get Dustin to try the ketchup and the chocolate milk. He's got to try that.
I forgot about that. Oh, my God. I got to remember this. I got to tell Ben about this.
Yeah, we got to write them all down.
This one. I didn't even know about this one. This is new to me.
There's always a new one. There's always a new one.
Ketchup. I thought I was getting attacked at LSM for the ketchup and the eggs, but like me and Colin bonded on that one. But what? Tell me briefly. I just need to know about this.
This is when I was a child. I used to put ketchup in my chocolate milk at the lunch table, and I liked it. I love ketchup though. I put ketchup on everything, like broccoli, like whatever you could put ketchup on. I put ketchup on it as a kid, and so I put it in the chocolate milk one time, and it was delicious. But Dustin doesn't believe me. He's like, no. He's like, if you did that, then do it now. But I'm like, I'm lactose intolerant now, man. Like I'm not, and I don't think it's gonna work with soy milk. I don't think it's gonna work with almond milk. There's something special, about that.
Fair enough. This is great information.
What if we get like a vegan shake somewhere and then put ketchup in it? Would you do that?
I mean, we could try. Like, it's just I could try one sip, but it's like me and dairy are not on good terms these days, man. So
man, that'd be a good penalty for someone. Someone loses, they got to try Micah's
Yes.
her delicious delicacies or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, we have like a little toaster oven nearby, so here comes the hot lettuce ham sandwich. All right, you gotta take a bite of that because you lost Jeopardy. You gotta take a swig of the ketchup chocolate milk.
No.
Oh man, this is great.
Oh no. I'm afraid now. All right, let's talk about some video games now. I've been playing a little game that just came out. You guys might have heard of it. It's called Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, the expansion to Elden Ring. What was it? 2023's Game of the Year? Jeff Keighley's birthday party awards. I agree. Definitely my favorite game that year. I am a huge From Software fan. I love all their games, so this is right up my alley. However, before I get into it, I want to ask both of you. Cog, I know you're not a huge From guy. Have you seen this? Are you curious about it? What are your thoughts that you've heard?
Yeah, no, look, obviously on the record, I'm not a Souls guy, not a From guy, but I love the community. I love what the games do for gaming in general, because I feel it's necessary. As a person who used to play, when I was younger, extremely challenging games, and I know that feeling of being able to conquer something that at one point you thought was impossible. And as a gamer, I think you need to experience that. I think that really builds character, so to speak, right? And you a sense of accomplishment. What I like is I've been following Kai Cenat and the whole like movement behind him and this kid who really is not really a video game streamer, from my understanding, and then kind of got into it. And, you know, the next thing you know, he's like completely immersed into Elden Ring. He's completely immersed into playing this game. And one thing that was really cool that I just was brought to my attention was that, you know, as a result of his popularity, I guess, you know, I don't know if it's Namco or From has been giving him things or such of that nature. And I guess people in the community was like, look, you know, there are people who live, breathe this thing that have been streaming and doing content creation for Elden Ring and From games for years. And it's kind of messed up that they didn't get the attention. And he acknowledged that. And then he said, okay, give me the list of everyone. And he literally searched out everyone who are the most passionate creators and made it right and got those guys stuff and girl stuff. So I thought that was super cool. But as far as the game itself, had Gene Park in the realm before I was podcast, which I got to get you in the realm at one point. That's long overdue. But yeah, Gene was telling me, and it's kind of like the thing that I'm learning about this game is that it is extremely humbling to people who have these higher level characters that come back thinking that they're going to, you know, tank the situation. And it's like, oh no, you are humbled from the beginning. Yeah. This is almost a day one kind of reset for you. And you're going to learn the new things that you need to do in this world. And last thing I say that I really respect about Elden Ring is that I did try it. One thing that I like about it is that, okay, in past Souls games, you get to a point, you can't beat that person, you're stuck. That's where you are. This, because it's open world, it's like, all right, I'm not strong enough for you right now, but I'm going to go around. And I think that's the appeal. Now it's got this broad, like super appeal. I really love watching the streams and love seeing people get into it. I go for the pain, and I will admit also, Micah, like I do enjoy watching people suffering to see the frustration. Like I do get a little joy. It's hilarious to me. So yeah, that's me. That's just pretty much what I've been doing. I've been a very happy observer of the culture, I would say, of Souls games.
Yeah. You brought up Kai Cenat. I think that's a great example. I've seen a few clips of him talking about it. I think he has the right attitude with these games. He dies a lot, and that's how we all are. Everyone dies, and he doesn't give up. He perseveres. He learns slowly. That's what it's all about. And I really respect his attitude towards the game, especially as a newcomer. That's great. I love that. So it's really cool to see that. I'm really happy the game's getting a lot more exposure too. That's awesome. I'm very happy about all this. So shout out, Micah. I know Colin's not a fan. Have you ever tried any of these games? Are you interested at all about any of them?
So I was interested in Elden Ring, and then I watched Colin play some of it, and I was just like, this isn't for me. I don't have the patience. The closest I've gotten to playing a Souls game is Witcher 2, which is, you know, much more difficult than Witcher 3. But like that was my Souls game. I'm like, oh my God, like this was insanity, trying, you know, all these different maneuvers against a boss, trying to figure out their weaknesses and how to you know, overcome that. But I'm not a patient person. It's what I talked to Colin about stealth games recently. That's just never been my thing, because he's like, oh, I think you'd enjoy Metal Gear, and I was like, I hate stealth, like I don't enjoy stealth. It's my least favorite part in Assassin's Creed games. My least favorite part in most games is when you have some sort of stealth mission. So there are some things that I just don't enjoy, and stealth and throwing yourself at a boss 100 times until you figure it out, those are things I just don't jive with.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I've heard people talk about, I play games to have fun. I don't want to do this because it's not fun. I don't think this is fun. I don't like I've heard Colin say, The Last of Us isn't fun. You don't play for Last of Us. I think those games are fun. I like all that stuff. I think the stress and the overcoming is fun. I enjoy all that stuff.
Oh,
because, you hear people say like, oh, it's scary, but they still think it's fun. A game is scary. They still be fun. So, because like Cog, you, me, our age, we're forged in fire with those games. We were used to getting humbled in every single game.
Bro. Yeah, that was a rite of passage, that kind of stuff. Absolutely. Micah, I'm sorry, you was going to say something.
Oh, and I was going to say, like, I do enjoy a challenge. Like, I'm, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I'm still working through, has some challenging bosses.
Yeah.
But it's still more approachable to me than a Souls game dying in one hit. That's really what gets me. It's things like, you need to be perfection. I'm never perfect at anything ever in my life, right? So it's like, that's where I fail to enjoy those games. It's like, I really hate stealth games, for example. It's like, oh, you get seen by one guy, mission's over, back to the checkpoint, right? It's like, it's just one guy. Like, so it's more so of having to do like a perfect run of anything that I'm just like, that's where the frustration level for me just gets too high. Like, I like a challenge, but I don't like having to be like flawless.
Sure. I think people who aren't in the series, and if they put in the effort, they always have this aha moment that I love. And I've seen it happen so many times where people are just like, I get it now. I understand what, like Kai Cenat had this feeling too. That's the kind of stuff I love. Of course, the games are not for everyone. Totally makes total sense. I totally understand. It's great. But I love when people give it a shot at least. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. That's cool. I'm very happy Colin at least tried Elden Ring and gave it a shot. Wasn't for him, but I'm happy he did. I feel like we could maybe crack the nut with him if he had a little coaching. If I sat with him and maybe helped him out, could maybe get there. That boy's played some hard games. I know he has. He played old games, so he's talented. I think he thinks 3D is just too much for him sometimes. 2D, he's very comfortable. Yes. 3D, maybe a little less, but I believe everyone at LSM could overcome these challenges. But not asking anyone to. It's if you're not having fun, you ain't having fun. All right, so like Cog was saying, everyone's getting humbled in this DLC. First of all, I've seen this game getting like negative reviews because of difficulty, a lot of things. And there's some stuff I've seen in the reviews that I agree with, like technical stuff from software always has technical problems every time. Like I remember when Elden Ring came out, I reviewed it when I was at Easy Allies, and everyone was giving it 10s. I gave it a 9.5. I was like, nope, I can't do it because of the tech. Some of the tech is just not. I played on PC, so some of the tech was not up to snuff.
I did hear that.
That's just the way it goes. Bloodborne, horrible frame rate. That's the way it goes, baby. I'm used to it, but they got to work that stuff out. However, this too difficult thing, I don't think so. I think people, like Cog said, came into this DLC, stomping around, I am the Elden Lord, I'm going to crush this DLC, and the game's just like, nope, sorry, not this time. And I really like that because the game's progression, so in past From Software DLCs, you go in there, the DLCs are always the hardest parts of the game, first of all, right off the bat. They're always the hardest parts. They're always late game areas. So you got to go through a lot of the game. It's not going to be surprising to anyone if you've played From Software games that this DLC is challenging. But past games, you run in, you just, depending on your level, you could steamroll stuff. There's no progression just besides your normal leveling up. Like Jean, if you played as Jean's character, for example, Jean, maxed out character, max out stats. Jean would like face roll everything in those games, or at least crush them way easier. However, there is a new mechanic in this DLC to prevent that. If you're a high level character, it doesn't matter. You're still going to struggle in a lot of ways. They've added a separate form of progression in this game, which I think is really interesting. Basically, throughout the expansion, there are these things called skidoo trees or skidoo seeds. Weird name, skadoosh. I'm calling them skadoosh seeds, like Kung Fu Panda. But basically, these are items you collect And when you collect a certain amount, you can power up your character, but it only counts in this DLC, only this area. So you get these things that increase your stats, and they can really help with a lot of the bosses. Like, I ran into a boss. I was like, whoa, this guy is tough. I'm not doing much damage. He's hitting me like a truck. Okay. But Cog, like you were saying, what you liked about Elden Ring, you get stuck at something, you go out and explore. You got a huge world. This world also massive. Absolutely massive. I am shocked how big this is. I've played all their DLCs. This is by far the biggest. From Software is always trolling when they say how big something is. They always lie. It's always much bigger than what they say every time. I am shocked at how big this DLC is. I haven't finished it yet, but it's incredibly big. So it's a $40 expansion, so I knew it was going to be big, but I didn't expect it to be this big. Very impressed on all that. But back to the progression. So you get stuck, you find these seeds, and they power up your character. What I really like about this is it rewards exploration greatly. I love that. I love Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that because you have this huge world and exploration, rewarding exploration. This is better. Like in Zelda games, like Breath of the Wild, Mikey might be able to read, Tears of the Kingdom, exploring a lot of stuff you just get as another weapon. You're like, well, I don't even have room for this thing, so I'm just going to leave it here. These Skirt trees, or these Skidoo seeds, when I find them, I'm like, yes, let's go. Progress. I love it. I love this feeling of progression in this world. It feels like you're starting over again almost. You're slowly building your character up, which I think is so important to an RPG. You need a good incentive. Besides, it has the visual aspect down where you just see something and you're like, oh, I want to go to that. I'm not going there because there's a marker telling me to go there necessarily. I'm going there because it looks cool. So I'm going to go there. Not only do you have that, but you also get rewarded with character boosts, which is super important. Also weapons, really fun new weapons. There's like new kung fu, like they added like fist weapons almost where you can punch and like kick and do all this crazy stuff. That's all new. They've added like throwing weapon. Yeah, martial arts pretty much. You're like, you could do like a monk build almost now. They've added like throwing weapons. There's a lot of stuff. I haven't even found a lot of this stuff yet. There's a ton of new armor sets, new NPCs, lots of new bosses, really cool bosses. One of the early bosses is this one that I got stuck on for a while at the beginning. He's like this, you know, when you see like a New Year or like a Chinese New Year parade, you got those people like the dragons, stuff like that. It's like that almost with like a lion, and he's huge. He's spinning around the arena. When you start doing more damage to him, he starts adding elemental attacks to all of his stuff. He does lightning, then he'll start doing frost, then he'll start doing wind stuff. Constant surprises. The only problem though with the bosses, some of these bosses in these games, like all from Software games, if they're a big boss, camera's a little dodgy sometimes. You get in a corner, the boss is high, your camera character or the camera goes up, you can't see shit. You can't see shit. So that's always a problem. I hope they can work that out somewhere in more games, but it seems to get a little better every time, but still not perfect. But also with this map, what's been really interesting about it is there's so much verticality to it, way more than past games. I'm seeing stuff that's like really far down below and really high up. And what I love about these games is, how am I going to get there? How do I get there? And just piecing that together, and you find a little secret, maybe a little small hole, and it'll take you down. You just end up going down this huge path, and you're like, how did I even get here? How did this happen? So many times in this game, I have a plan in my mind, what I'm going to do. Then I see something, I'm like, oh, what's that? Then I just start going down that. Then I'm like, oh, what's that? And I start going down that. Then I forget what I was doing in the first place. I'm just being driven by curiosity, and I love all that stuff. Let me think about what else. Whoa, also what's cool about this. So, like Elden Ring, you get stuck on a boss, you can explore. This one seems even better about that. I haven't, as far as I'm aware, every boss I've pretty much run into, the main ones at least, you can come back later. You're not like, I can't progress. You don't run into that spot where like, oh, I can't explore more of the world until I beat this guy. There always is a way to get around that, so you can set out to go even further. So if you're stuck and you really want to buff your character up, you could totally do that and just spend so much time exploring. Also, there's been a lot of weird, disturbing shit in this DLC where I'm talking about, like stuff just wandering around. Minor spoiler, very minor, an area where there's just giant fingers everywhere. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening in here? What's happening? There's this mountain I went up. It was like Death Mountain from Zelda, where there's a boulder running down, and there's all these dragons and lightnings coming down. Really just great stuff. I've been thoroughly impressed so far. I haven't finished it yet, so I'm going to save all my full opinion about all the difficulty and all that stuff. I mean, I've been stuck on bosses for like 20 plus tries, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm personally, I think the fights are fun, so I enjoy that. I enjoy the small progress of learning an attack and just being like, okay, I successfully dodge these consistently now. It's like, Cog, you're playing a fighting game and you get the move down. You get it down. Yes. It's like learning the Hadouken. You got to learn to do it so you can do it on command like 10 times in a row, every time. You never mistake. You never do a misinput. It's kind of like that stuff, when I really adore that kind of stuff. But yes, Shadow of the Erdtree so far is amazing. I love it. Everyone out there who's complaining, you can do it. Just explore a little bit, see the world, use the tools they've given you in the game. I know a lot of people don't like to use magic or spirit ashes. I personally don't use spirit ashes very much because I think it's fun, just the one-on-one, because you get all the attention.
You're one of them hardcore ones.
Because that's what the older games were like, but I got no problem using all that stuff. I think you should use all the tools. No judging. No judging. You should use all the tools the game gives you. They give you them for a reason, and you shouldn't feel bad about using them. There's always some like, you use spirit ashes or summons to help you get a boss. Dude, who cares? You set the challenge for yourself. That's how you should play it. And that's how I play it. I'm happy if people get through the game, and I'm glad they added tools to help people. That's why people are like, these games need easy modes or anything like that. It's like, no, they give you tools in the game to help you do that kind of stuff. So definitely take advantage of them. Don't feel bad about using any of that stuff. Just play what's fun to you. Just do that and you'll have an excellent time. But yeah, I can gush about this game forever. I feel like I love Elden Ring so much. It's hitting all the spots. It gives me those feelings of, I can't wait to play more. I think about it when I wake up. It's like, God, I just want to keep playing this game. I love it so much. But I've been very patient. I'm not going to no life about it. I'm enjoying it like a fine wine right now. Because I know, you only get these every so often, so I'm enjoying it.
Love it. It's awesome, man. I hear what you're saying. I think that's really cool because I could tell, the Souls community, they are cherishing this thing. Like it is so cool to watch. I see Mike's face because when you said like, yeah, I've had something 20 times, I was like, oh my God, I'll be going crazy right now. I don't need that stress in my life, but I love how much enjoyment you guys get out of it. But, and again, this sense of accomplishment. But I like what they did. It's based on what you said with these seeds and these spirit ashes, whatever it is that it is, they want you to kind of build yourself back up and earn that a little bit more of attack, a little bit more of defense. And this way you slowly building yourself back up. I think that's cool. And the fact that it's that large, the way you guys are saying, like they put so much content in this is truly amazing, man. Yeah, this sounds really cool for everyone that's into Elden Ring. To get this again is like almost like a sequel in a sense. Like
it feels like a sequel, Cog. It's so massive. I can't believe like the map feels almost as big as the base game. It feels like that big almost. It's crazy. I haven't explored all the map yet, but it just keeps going and keeps surprising me with really cool stuff. So.
And I like what you said about like, I love a game that when curiosity intrigues you and you're like, what's that in the corner? What's going on over there? And then, you kind of go back and forth kind of thing with the squirrel. Oh, okay. And then, you lost track of why you was over here in the first place. That's when the game was good. That's when the game got you.
Yeah. Let's get some questions from the readers about all this. People are curious. This is from Angel de Jesus. Hello, everyone. With Shadow of the Erdtree's super high reception, there has been a debate on whether it should be eligible for GOTY. In my opinion, it should not. Not only do you need the base game to play it, but you also need to beat certain bosses to access it. It's so tied to the main game, I don't see how it could possibly be eligible for GOTY. What's everyone's opinion on this and DLC eligibility as a whole? Well, Angel, I agree with you. This is not a standalone game. It is an expansion, and therefore it should be categorized in the Keighley Awards as a DLC, like Phantom Liberty. Same kind of thing. It's not a standalone game. Is it as good, in my opinion, to be GOTY? Yes. But it is DLC. And you should put it in the category it aligns with properly. What do you think about that, Cog? There's always some stuff like that. People are always like, these expansions, best of the year, Phantom Liberty, Blood and Wine, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, it's funny that this question came up because I actually came up with this question for my audience for ILP as a poll. Oh. And because I'm seeing the reception and I'm like, I've seen some people say, hey, this should be a GOTY, but I'm Barrett. I'm 100% with you. Look, what it goes to show me is the quality of DLC lately has been so good that we're even considering it. But I do agree with you. I think it should be categorized properly as such. And what I will say is this, for like the Keegleys and stuff like that, I do want expansions to get love categorically. You know what I'm saying? I think they did do that last year or whatever. I think they did have an expansion or a DLC.
I think they had a DLC, like best DLC, I think.
Best DLC, yeah. Long as that, is preserved to give, the this type of content, the proper shine that it deserves. I like that. But yeah, as overall, I agree. It's an expansion. It's an additive thing to a base game. So in my opinion, it doesn't qualify for a full game of the year. But again, I totally understand why people are excited though.
Yeah. Any thoughts about this, Micah, or do you kind of agree with me and Cog?
No, I agree with you guys. First, I gotta say that Heart of Stone was the better Witcher 3 DLC.
Oh,
Everybody
like
always
Heart of
mentions
Stone
Blood
more?
and Wine. All right, I love them both very much,
Okay.
but Heart of Stone was my favorite. But yeah, I totally agree that it should be its own category, and they should be judged that way. But no, it's not a standalone title, and especially being tied to like previous bosses in the base game, stuff like that. It's like, no, that this needs to be its own category. I think that's entirely fair. And I think that they, excellent DLC does deserve praise and, awards, but no, I don't think it should be held up against full games that were released this year.
Yeah, totally. Really? You like Hearts of Stone more? I remember the villain was cool in that. I don't remember his name. But I think I liked the zone of Blood and Wine, though. And like vampires.
Blood and Wine was fantastic. Okay, but Olgierd von Everec? All right. Total daddy vibes. All right. So like that guy was just... And then I loved the creep factor of Heart of Stone. Heart of Stone just had this really... I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything. Heart of Stone was like scary, genuinely scary. Some of the stuff that they just threw in there. And it was just like, oh my God, like some of the bosses in that were awesome. So it's my favorite one in terms of the story it told. I adored Blood and Wine as well, though. Like that was just a fantastic one too. But I'm a huge Witcher fan. Like I love the books. I love the games. But yeah, everyone always gives Blood and Wine, all this extra attention. And I'm like, well, what about Heart of Stone, right? What about that one?
Heart of Stone's good. I did like it, I remember. Yeah, cool story. Really cool. All right, this is from Kai. Hey guys, no surprise here, but From Software has done it again. The verticality of the Land of Shadow has elevated Elden Ring in a similar fashion to how Nintendo proved upon Breath of the Wild with Tears of the Kingdom. After last week's comments on the difficulty, I was worried. I'm not excellent at these games, but I seem to be getting past most bosses in fewer than 5 attempts, contrary to the experience most are having online. Quick side note, I have over 100 deaths right now. I've been keeping track of every single death. Over 100 right now. Not done. Loving it. Okay, so Brad, how has the difficulty been for you? So far, it's been a healthy challenge as opposed to the painful gauntlet it was set up to be. Level 215, New Game Plus, and use Summon Ashes. So, I've died more than you, totally. I don't use Summon Ashes, really. That's not a flex or anything. I just prefer that kind of, the old school spirit of one-on-one, all aggro. But there's nothing wrong with them. I use them sometimes because they're fun, but I haven't used them yet at all. I have definitely gotten my ass kicked plenty of times, but I'm cool with it because I think the bosses are really fun. And like I said before, I like that slow drip, even if it's a slow drip feed of progress. I just love that feeling. So it's been great for me so far. All right, this is from Sean. Santarud. Hey, Summoners. This one is for Brad as he's playing Shadow of the Erdtree. Just wanted to get his thoughts on the mechanic of finding Skidoo tree fragments to level up attack and defense in the expansion. I'm mixed on it, as it really does make you explore the world, but it's also frustrating that you won't stand a chance against bosses without finding them, even at a ridiculously high character level. I understand they don't want people flying through the expansion, but they have never done it they have never needed to do it this way before. Well, they don't want people flying the expansion like they did before, because people did fly through the expansions. And I like the idea of feeling like you're starting new again and slowly building up. Yeah, you got all your moves, you got all your weapons, your armor, but it's like another form of leveling up. It's like starting at level 0 again. It's like leveling up your character. It's just a different form of progression that makes the feeling of slowly getting powerful throughout this thing very satisfying, in my opinion. how I'll feel about it when I'm done or down the line, I don't know. But right now, I am enjoying it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, super dope. Yeah, I like that they've from has stuck to their guns, creatively as far as difficulty and not acquiesce, so to speak. Because there's also been a point of contention for some. So yeah, it's fun to see them, kind of stand on it.
Yeah, it's nice. From Software always sticks to their guns, it seems like, and their philosophy, which I always appreciate. You always got every release they put out, every time, people always complain about the difficulty every fucking time. Can you guys just stop now? We've gotten to the point where it's like, you know what we're getting into. You know it. The DLCs are always hard in the base game too. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. All right? Just deal with it. You can overcome it. Just deal with it. All right? All right. Let's go in a completely different direction here. Micah, The Order 1886. What a random ass game for you to pull out in the year 2024. I played this game when it came out also. I enjoyed it. I got problems with it, but I enjoyed it overall. I know you love this game, Micah. Why don't you talk about it? Let us know.
Yeah, so I played this game not immediately when it came out because I have it on disc and it was a used copy from GameStop. So I don't remember exactly when I got it, but it wasn't too long after release. And I loved it. I loved it at the time, and I was so hyped for many years thinking, we're going to get a sequel. This is completely set up to give us a sequel. And of course, we never got it, and it doesn't look like we ever will. And it's just one of my biggest gaming disappointments that the Order 1886 story won't be finished. I agree. There are some issues with it, but like in my opinion, the biggest issue is just that the game's too short, especially for the budget that it was given. But honestly, like it was just so much fun to play it again. I have so many things I adored about the game, from the setting, the guns that you use in it, the enemies. There was just so much to love about this game that I don't know. I'll never get over my disappointment that they didn't get another chance at it.
Yeah. Well, sadly, we'll probably never get in because they got bought by Meta. Reddit Dawn. I mean, I'm happy for them. I've heard they make very good VR games now. Shout out to all their PSP games they made. Also, God of War, like Daxter, really great stuff. Really love it. Micah, so I do like this game. I think the story is really cool, and the setting. I love the lore and all that stuff. How they drink like the vial and everything to live for a long time. These werewolves out there in London, really cool. The tech's really fun. Their weapons and stuff like that. So you can tell me if things have changed, but I remember in the base game, lots of cutscenes. Cool. No problem with that.
Yes.
You can't skip them, though, if you want to replay the game, which, in my opinion, is a bummer because this game is short. Fine. That's totally fine. But if I'm replaying the game, I don't really want to watch all these cutscenes all the time. I want to skip them just to get through the thing. You couldn't do that. How do you feel about that now, I guess? I think it's cool if you like take huge breaks in the game. You're like, I haven't played this game in 5-10 years. It's like watching a movie again, something like that. Do you think that's something that could have helped the game? Or are you fine with it how it is?
No, I think unskippable cutscenes are always bad because so I was considering, I never go for trophies really, but this is such a short game that I'm like, I might go back and get some trophies. I did try and get some specific ones during this playthrough, like without a guide, but just paying attention to the list. But it's like these cutscenes, some of them are long. Like we're talking like Yakuza game length cutscenes. And it's just like, I don't know, man, in a game this short, I just want to be able to just kind of like go right through it and knock some of these out. There is a chapter select, so there's some things I'd be able to go back and do, but I wouldn't be able to get the platinum that way. I would have to like start over, get all the collectibles and everything, right? But that's always a downside for me, is like unskippable cutscenes, especially like in games like before a boss, for example. It's like, please don't make me watch this whole cutscene just to have another try at the boss. Stuff like that I cannot stand. So though that's definitely still a negative for me, because I agree that the replayability on this game would be super high otherwise.
Yeah, there's like, as far as I remember, there was like no unlockables either, or anything like that to encourage a second playthrough. This, to me, I remember this game being enjoyable. I enjoyed my time going through it, but it is very brief, especially at the time. It was a full price game. I think it was $60 when it came out. And I'm just like, I wish you just gave me a little more incentive to come back. Like Resident Evil is very good about this, you know. Games can be short, like Resident Evil 3 Remake, very short game, but there's a lot of unlocks, a lot of replay value. Do you think, I mean, what do you think about that? If they added some little replayability stuff for you, what would you want to see also if they did?
No, I agree, because one of my favorite parts of The Last of Us, for example, is all the weapon upgrades and trying to do the playthrough where you have all the weapons fully upgraded, for example. Things like that, being really incentivized to find collectibles, looking for all the work tables so that Joel can upgrade all the weapons. It makes you want to explore more. In the Order, the collectibles were purely information. And, one major dislike, you have these like audio logs, but it's not like some games where the audio log, you hit play and it just plays while you're walking around. You have to just sit on the screen and listen to it. And you have to wait till it's over and then you can leave. I only listened to one of them because of that, because I'm like, this is annoying. And it adds a little something to the story, but not enough that I want to sit here for a minute at a time and just not be playing. So I agree completely that some of the collectibles, I just wasn't incentivized to get them, aside from maybe wanting to grab that trophy for finding all the newspapers. It didn't really add much. Also, some of the stuff was so cryptic to the point that it didn't add much to the lore. Sometimes you just find a photograph and it just on the back, it'll say something like, the operation is progressing smoothly. But you don't know who's in the photograph. Like, all it is like slightly conspiratorial, but it really doesn't add much to the story to find these. Like, some of the collectibles are just so obscure that you're like, I don't even know why I'm looking for these. It's not really adding much. It's not like BioShock finding all the audio diaries. Like, it just barely adds anything except if you want the trophy. So I completely agree that I think upgrading the weapons would have been kind of cool, but the other thing with that is that the weapons are like stage specific. So it's not like The Last of Us where, you're kind of going from area to area and, for a time you're keeping the same weapons. They do sort of reset you a couple times in The Last of Us. But in the Order, it happens much more frequently of like, okay, you're starting this new area and you're just going to pick up the gun that's on the table over here. Or the gun that you had at the end of the last level, that's gone. They've given you a different one. So it would be kind of annoying to have upgrades in that scenario because you're not getting to choose what you play with, basically. Right. But it would have added something. That would be something I would tweak, because the science guns, really cool. That electricity gun was awesome. The thermite, where you shoot the cloud of incendiary dust and then you ignite it. There's some really cool weapons in the game, and you felt so powerful. I hate games that have like pew pew laser guns. I hate that. I don't like the feeling of not being powerful. I like Gears of War. All right, I want to use the Nasher shotgun. I want to blow this guy's head off in one shot. Like, I want to feel powerful. And in this game, every gun felt so powerful, from the pistols to the little SMGs that they kind of have. Like, everything felt really powerful, and so I adored that.
Speaking of powerful weapons, Micah, do you enjoy the Doom series?
Oh, I've never played it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, okay.
Colin keeps telling me I should try it, but I never have.
Yeah, that might be one for you. Yeah.
Yeah, if you like powerful weapons and
and
good gore kills, blowing stuff in half, I think you would probably enjoy Doom then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because playing this was my first shooter that I played in a bit. I've really been on a JRPG kick the past year, and I realized I'm not getting sick of them yet, but playing this was such a change of pace, and I love shooters. I just hadn't played one in a while, and it's like, man, now I kind of want to go back and replay the Gears series or something, or just go back and play something different. And yeah, Doom, maybe I should put that on the list, because I have never played it before.
Doom Basic, Doom Return. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think that might be.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cog.
No, I was agreeing with you. Just I think that you nailed it, Brad. I think that might be right up our alley as far as based on feeling powerful, just running gun. It's an energy to it, and I think you might vibe with that.
Yeah, it's like running very fast in Gears of War. It's like they're on steroids, jumping around, ripping stuff in half. That's what it just sounds like. What are they called in Gears of War? Are they called Cogs? Whatever they are, they're faction. I can't remember. Or are they just Gears? I was trying to remember what they're called. The characters.
The Cog is the army, right? It's called being part of the Cog.
Yeah, the coalition.
Okay. Yeah, it's like the Doomslayer is like a souped up version of those guys on steroids almost. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
Micah, the story of this game, very engaging from what I recall. It's been a long time since I've played, like I said, but I remember it's very engaging. I liked Galahad a lot. I thought he was a really cool character. Talk to you about the story a little bit. What are some of your favorite characters? Some of your early favorite moments? If you're really worried about spoilers for The Order 1886, I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm just letting you know. But Micah, what are some of your favorite moments too?
Yes. So characters. I absolutely loved Galahad, the main character. He's just fantastic. A really big highlight of this game is the voice acting. I thought it was exceptional. I don't think there was a single bad performance in this game. I thought every character was really well done, from Galahad, his kind of squad members, the like Chancellor, like everyone was really well acted. I don't think there was a single person I heard that I was like, oh, that guy kind of sucks, right? Like, I thought they were all really good. So that was a big point in the story, is just that it was so well acted, which matters with these long cutscenes. The story itself, I mean, right at the beginning of the game, it starts off with like a torture scene. Like the stakes are high from the jump. It just really, this game sets you up for like, okay, like this is serious business here. Like, whoa. And from that point forward, it really just kind of ramps up in intensity. I'm to not spoil things, and then I'll mention when I'm going to spoil stuff. The basics of the game is, there is the Lycan threat. So there are werewolves, and that's the kind of the key thing that the Order itself is fighting against, is those werewolves that are hidden among us, essentially. And then below the surface, there's also a like rebel faction that's causing problems in the city. So there's like some political intrigue there. There's just all these sort of layers to the story, and, this will be a mild spoiler. There are other monsters later on that are discovered, essentially. So as the story progresses, it just ramps up in intensity of like, first you're like, okay, we're here to fight the werewolves. Then you're kind of here to fight the rebel threat. Then you find out there's a whole other faction of creatures in the city. And you're just like dealing with this like lair conspiracy. It's awesome. The story itself is really what hooked me into it. And I also just love the character design. I think their outfits were fantastic. The costuming was just phenomenal. If I ever actually like did a cosplay like Sir Galahad, it would be like top tier cosplay to do. Like he has the coolest outfit of maybe any video game character I've seen. But yeah, the other part, a really cool part of the story, Nikola Tesla is in the game as like their weapons maker, and he's a really fun little character to have in there. And it's just a neat way to kind of shoehorn in like how they're so technologically advanced in this age. And it's essentially like, well, what if Tesla just had free reign to do whatever he wanted? And how far would he have gotten? The one thing I'll note, I remembered the game being much scarier, but in reality, it's because it was one of the first scary games I ever played. Because going through it this time, there's not nearly as many encounters with the Lycans as I remembered. But it's because at the time I played it, it was one of the first times ever that I played something scary, suspenseful. You're in the dark, creepy spaces. And they do it very well. I mean, they'll have you sort of like in these, you're in a basement and the power's out and you're being stalked by werewolves. Like it's top tier scary. But I remembered it being much worse. And I really think that was just the time in my life I was at where it was much worse because I hadn't played other scary games yet.
Okay.
Those kind of jump scares were even more impactful. I still yelled though. I was playing this by myself. I had all the lights on and it still startled me several times. I was kind of freaking out. There's another game too where the human enemies are almost scarier than the monsters. They do some inventive things with the AI in that it'll be, and these are things that's like, it's programming, but it's effective. You hide behind a chimney and the guy will say he's behind the chimney.
Right.
You pick up a grenade launcher and they'll be like, he's got a launcher. I know that's just if then statements. Like I know how it works on the back end, but it does add a layer of suspense to feel like you can't hide from them, to feel like your actions are just in plain sight. You're not being very tactical, like they saw exactly what you did. They saw you pick up the weapon. They saw where you ran to. It really just adds a whole new layer of suspense to feel like the enemies know your every move. And that's something that, yeah, this is a fairly short experience, but they pack a lot of action into it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. As you mentioned, the serum that they drink is really cool. I love that facet of the story. The other characters too. There's this Frenchman that you're paired up with, and he is sort of like very conflicted along the way. And, he's learning. He's new to the squad. He's kind of finding his own way, learning like between right and wrong, between duty and conscience. That's a really cool story arc as well. The story. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. The story is fantastic.
Yeah. I think the settings in the game are really awesome too. Like going through like Whitechapel. I remember that area.
Yes.
Of course, the hot air blimp and all that stuff. Really, really gorgeously made. Cog, I'm sure you can relate to this. Reminds me a lot of Hellblade 2.
Yes,
visual showpiece at the time.
Yep.
Definitely short game, controversial in that regards. Got the letterboxing as well. Well acted. It's the Hellblade 2 before Hellblade 2.
You literally stole my thought. That's literally what I'm saying. Like those, I kind of love those games where it's kind of like, I feel like they're close to launch and they give you this, it's like a visual showpiece and the potential of the console. And, it's been so long since I played it, but I remember it being short, but I remember how impressed I was with it. And I just like the whole Victorian style London aspect. I thought that was dope. Like I'm always a fan of time periods or locales that you don't get to see often and unique takes on things like that. And like you said, the vials, the pop in, pop out kind of cover shooting kind of thing. And I was impressed. I've always liked Ready at Dawn for some things. I think they had some teen kind of story game at one point. I can't remember later after that. I forgot the name of it. But I always liked their style of games. But this was one of those. I remember getting it with the PS4 and was very, very impressed. But like Micah said, I'm like, man, can it just give us a little bit more? It was just ended so short of like, I was just now vibing now. Like I'm feeling it. It's like, it's over. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
This game definitely deserved a sequel. I feel like they probably would have learned a lot from the first game to make it even better. I think it's a good start for this series. I enjoyed it. It's got problems in my opinion, but I enjoy the game overall. I just feel like if they got a sequel and could have fleshed it out a little bit more, could have been something really special. The way I feel about this is also how I feel as an Xbox guy in reference to Rise of the Rome.
It's like you see the base potential here. It's got its flaws. It's not perfect, but you see what it could be. Like if they had a sequel enough just to flesh it out, do more things and more creative things that were left off the table, this could be really great. To me, it's a great foundational game with potential that was never realized because there's no damn sequel. And I'm like, damn, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Man, I got to play Rise. I've heard you hype it up a lot. Someone else does too. Is it Maddie? Someone else really likes Rise here. Maybe it's Gene. It's like, all right, man. I got to
rock on Rise for sure.
I got to try that. I think I have it on Xbox One. Yeah, I remember it did look really good when it came out. Really good.
I love it. Yeah.
All right. This is from clearly a Snark Tank fan, Chris Raygun fan right here. Slapstick Spider-Man starring Michael J. Fox as Peter Parker. What's up, guys? Micah, what made you decide to play the Order 1886? Was it all the comparisons that were being drawn between it and Hellblade 2? I haven't played it since it came out, but I just want to say that I was there from the very beginning championing this game. The graphics were stunning. The gunplay, as much as there was, felt snappy and satisfying, and best of all, it didn't overstay its welcome. The last point is something that I wish so many more developers would care more about these days. Sometimes a longer game is nice, but would you join me in singing the praises of tight, focused experiences? Oh, and tell us all about how Galahad really gets you going as well. Keep up the great work, guys. Michael J. Fox, Peter Parker right here. I think all of us can agree that small, tight experiences can be very valid and very good. Very good. But in my opinion, sometimes it doesn't work out as much. I'm not going to give it a pass just because it's short and people like short games. I think it just has problems about it. And in this case, it needed to be longer. I really felt like this game needed more from it to really elevate, especially with no replay value whatsoever, not being able to skip cutscenes. It's just a brief snippet. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with Peter Parker here?
Yeah, I I agree that I do enjoy when I can find games that are shorter experiences. For the most part, like I'm playing a lot of JRPGs that take,
Mm-hmm.
40, 60, 80 hours. I definitely, that sometimes I'm like, I just need a game that's not going to take me a month to beat, right? Um, but I definitely say that that's where this game fell apart for a lot of fans, was being sold at full price for the length of the experience. They got a lot of negative press in that regard, and that definitely hurt it. Replaying it now just because I just wanted to. I hadn't played it in many years, and I always think about this game. It's just one of my all-time favorite PS4 games. But it definitely is just like, man, we did need more of it. We did just need a few more levels at least. Because I think of other kind of short games that I love, like Spec Ops: The Line, for example, which is a game that wasn't really set up for a sequel. I just wanted them to make another one because I loved it so much. And that's just another game that it's very linear, point to point. You just get through it kind of quickly. And I don't know. I do enjoy these experiences, but I agree that in this particular instance, with the budget that they got and for the price that they sold it at, it did not help them that the game was so short. It definitely, it definitely hurt them in the end. But I do want to see more shorter experiences. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I think kind of right in the middle, both of you. I think that as a person who lives in live service games sometimes, and as a person who's sometimes playing these very long games, I do need a palate cleanse of just a tighter experience, and provided that I feel the journey was satisfying, right? And I think sometimes it's that mix of when you do play a shorter game, and what the worst thing is when you play a shorter game, but you feel it ended abruptly, and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in that case, they could be a little bit more fleshing out. But overall, like there are times, I think that's why I kind of been leaning a little bit more of the indie and AA scene sometimes lately, because I like sometimes you get that tight, focus, just concise experience. It didn't overstay its welcome. I felt satisfied, and I'm cool with that, kind of thing. So yeah, I've been gravitating towards those a little bit lately, because again, I have all those, soul stealing games that I play all the time. Yeah,
totally. I'm trying to think how to say this. I think short games are totally fine, but I just feel like with this case example for me, it's just left me feeling a little empty at the end, or a little like not as satisfied as I wanted to feel. I love short games, and thankfully this is something we're getting more nowadays, is more different price variations for a lot of games. So that's great. You see $40 game. Like if this game was $40 at launch, I think it would have been much more positively received instead of 60.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something they may have learned. Like even Hellblade 2, it's not a full price game. It's $50. And you got Game Pass, that option. So you don't even have to buy it, which helps alleviate a lot of that, in my opinion. So I don't know. I think short games are great. I think some people get caught up in just wanting to get through games quickly and move on to the next thing, and not just kind of enjoying the experience of being there. It's just like, well, people are like, oh, I got to beat this game, then get to this game. It's just like, to me, it's like, no, just enjoy your time with this game you're at right now and focus on that. Don't look ahead. I know it's tough, especially when there's games coming out left, right, shooting them at you right now, especially for us, because we do this for our job too. We cover them. But sometimes just stop and smell the roses in the game. That's all I'll say. Do what you can. All right, this is the obituary of Kane. Shout out for Cog right here. Oh man, Legacy of Kane. All right. Sorry, I was just reminiscing really quick in my brain.
Faye Victus.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Greetings, summoners. This one is from Micah. The Order 1886, criminally underrated? I feel like it gets way more hate than it deserves. The story, setting, theme are incredible, and it's a beautiful game, especially for the time. The gameplay is Gears of War light, so solid but not amazing. The only real issue is length, but in a world bloated with overly long games, I don't see this as an issue. Keep it up, Brad and crew. Yeah, totally understand all of that. I agree, 100%. It is nice, refreshing. It's small. We've talked about this. I just think the price tag is something you got to consider about all this kind of stuff. And to me, $60 is just too much for what it was. Like nowadays, if you paid $70, $80 for games, I don't know. It's just like, well, shit, you got to think about that. That's a lot of money to some people. And I know it's not a healthy thing to base everything off price and like value of money and time, stuff like that. To me, it's a case case by case basis. But sounds like you two are a little more okay with this game an example as that. So that's totally
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I'll say that for sure. I think for me the sweet spot when I talk about shorter games is something like 15 to 20 hours. I definitely agree that this game is on the barely acceptable side of okay, yeah, they told the whole story, they left some, they didn't leave us on a cliffhanger, at least, because that's important. Of like, well, if we're not going to get a sequel, at least they didn't do like a My Name is Earl thing where it's never going to be resolved, right? But they had just so many things unsaid,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's what's the most frustrating thing about not getting a sequel here. But no, I agree that it's very underrated. I'll say too, the traversal's not great. They definitely tried to give you like a heavy, like Marcus Phoenix feel, that like you're like a heavy kind of like muscular dude walking through the world, but you really just feel slow and clunky. The like cover, like the snapping between cover definitely feels like Gears, but it doesn't work quite as well. There are times where you just get stuck in cover and it's very frustrating. So I definitely agree that it's not perfect, but I will definitely say that it's underrated, and it got a lot of heat simply because of the length of the game and the price. It was a big misstep to sell it for full price. But yeah, when talking about the story, and I forget too, like there's another whole subplot where they add in Jack the Ripper is like running around too. Like that's a whole other subplot. It's there's just so much here that I really am like, man, I hope this is a game that, everybody who owns a PlayStation will play at some point, because I do think it's a worthwhile experience.
Yes.
I just think that, yeah, they made a big mistake in how much they put into the graphics versus how much gameplay they actually gave us, because it is a gorgeous game still.
Oh, yes,
it looks fantastic, but that was clearly the focus point, and I think they spent the money on the wrong thing, unfortunately. I think the game could have looked worse and been, 4 hours longer than having it be like, wow, it's visually stunning and you can beat this game in 6 or 7 hours. It was definitely a big mistake to do that.
Yeah. This game, if you're curious about this game on PSN, it's $20, which is a hell yeah. That's a big recommend right there.
It's definitely worth $20.
That's a big recommend right there. It's got a 4.5 stars out of 5-star rating on PSN right now. 43K reviews.
Ooh.
I think this is one of those games that's getting a lot more love nowadays because it is much more affordable to hop in. It's not so much of an investment. $20, dude. Yeah, easy ass recommendation. You're gonna have a great time. $20, dude, all day on this game. So if you're curious about it, do check it out. We all enjoy it. So give it a look if you haven't played it. All right. Cog.
Ooh.
Let's talk about Destiny 2, The Final Shape. Now, I had Chris on recently. He talked about it. He was loving it. He's a Destiny guy just like you. Now let's get your take, Cog. You're telling me you're like a crackhead playing this game all over again. You're addicted.
I was embarrassed to come on some side to talk about this, to be honest, because I'm like, man, this is so bad. Like I've been playing nothing but this game for almost 2 weeks straight, and look, it's what I guess for me is being a huge Bungie guy and Destiny guy from part one and the whole vision and 10 years and all the missteps this game and unrealized potential. It was a lot of pressure, and I was nervous for them coming into this expansion, because how do they conclude this saga, right? This is supposed to be the conclusion of the Light and the Dark saga. There's so many loose ends, so to speak. And, one of the selling points of the game, which I got my Cade 6 shirt on, was that Cade and Nathan Fillion were returning. And during the height of Destiny, I felt, he added a levity to the game. Sometimes Destiny, I felt, took its campaign way too serious, and all these, different entities and so on and so forth. And he kind of brought a nice, comic relief and was fun. So, playing the campaign, my first thing was like, okay, I just hope they do a solid job, because Lightfall prior expansion was terrible and really pissed the base off. And you can tell it was rushed and it wasn't a real cohesive story to get to where we are with the Witness, who's the big bad and, controlling the darkness and so on. So what I'll say, spoiler free initially, was that, one thing I like about the campaign, especially if you play it on Legendary, it's classic Bungie. It's classic, almost like that Halo Legendary campaign kind of feel. Very difficult, very challenging. The game does scale when depending on the amount of difficulties about people you have in your fire team. So if you run with a full fire team, it will be a little bit more challenging of 3, as opposed to if you're doing it solo, some things scale down a little less, what I think is fair. The cool thing that I think they've done is that for people who never try dungeons or raids, which are the hardest content in Destiny, right? What they've started to do in the campaign is start to flirt with mechanics and things that people who play dungeons and raids are used to, but they do it in such a nice onboarding way to not overwhelm someone. They slowly introduce things like there's symbols and things like that where 2 people have to work cooperatively. Like, hey, what do you see? You don't see this, I see this. And then this could get us through this section of the game. I thought that was well done. The whole idea of the Pale Heart, which is you're going into the Traveler, and this whole, they're using horror themes, like these weird looks and this dark, you see hands everywhere and faces. It's like really trippy kind of stuff. And I thought that was cool. The thing that I really wanted to give them credit for was coming into it, the Witness as the big bad. I wasn't sure if I had a fear factor of him and, would it be compelling? Oh no, very, very compelling. Really, really preying on the weaknesses of all the characters and trying to get them to acquiesce to his line of thinking. So yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought the campaign, which I thought that, the skyboxes are absolutely beautiful. Platforming, amazing. Gunplay, amazing. They introduce a lot of things. Here's the thing. I think the real MVP of the final shape is the prismatic subclass that they've added. So basically, in the past, if you play Destiny, I'm going to be an Arc Titan or Solar Titan. You had a kit all based around this stuff. Prismatic throws the game all like on its head. It's basically saying you can build craft. You want an Arc Super? Great. You want a Void Grenade? Great. You want to you literally can almost pick and choose and build out your Guardian the way you want. Now, there are some limitations. They'll let you get everything, but they let you get a majority of things. And it's almost like, did Bungie allow me to do it? I almost feel like I'm getting away with something. I feel like some parts I'm like, wow, this is an overpowered build. And as a person who loves build crafting and creating combinations, and, I could have stasis turrets freezing enemies, and then I could have, solar melee burning people. It's just crazy, the combinations. And what it shows me is, this is them flirting with a build crafting world potentially for D3. So yeah, ended it. The thing that I will say, what they did was really cool in the sense of they told you coming in, when you get to the end of the campaign, you're going to face the Witness or whatever. And what's kind of cool is what you do in the campaign, without spoiling, is barely make this creature get scratched. After, you just barely got, now you got his attention. It's that kind of deal. And then it was like, okay, now when you play the raid, you'll beat the Witness. So I was away. I was actually at Summer Games Fest when the raid launched. So I'm like, damn, I got to wait till I come back, that kind of thing. And I remember people telling me, and these are non-Destiny fans, or people just say, yeah, I'm just coming back just to conclude it and I'm done. I'm getting text messages with people, Bungie effing cooked. Oh my God, Cog, when are you coming back? What? And I'm like, what is happening? So I'm like, wait a minute. In my mind, I'm like, okay, is it the story over? You guys did the raid. I've stayed spoiler free. And this is where it was peak. Everyone waited for my entire clan and all my friends for me to get back. So apparently you do something after the raid. And it's called the Excision mission. So apparently the raid did something else to break his relationship with the Traveler. But now to finish this character, they did a mission, which was their first 12-player activity.
Yeah.
And literally cinematics throughout the entire thing. And the best thing I can say is this is their equivalent to Avengers Endgame. And you see every character in the entire Destiny universe. Zavala he's getting his Captain America on, on my left, this is the moment. And for them to do it in such a special fashion, I mean, this was definitely grown man tears if you followed this series from the beginning. It was really an amazing payoff. They did it. It's so impressive. I don't know how the engine was able to handle, because this activity was really mechanic based. and you really had to put the kibosh on the situation without spoiling too much. So kudos. I mean, there's still more stuff I'm doing right now. It does not stop. The sheer amount of content. So I'm glad it did get delayed. You could see the extra care that they put in with Final Shape. And yeah, for those who are on the fence, I mean, yeah, this is the time. This is the time to really play this campaign, play this expansion, and see this payoff. So super proud. Still tons of stuff more I got to do. There's more stuff. It opens up into other things, but fantastically done. I am more than satisfied. I haven't been this. And the problem is when Destiny's good, it really takes me away from everything. I'm very unproductive as a gamer.
Yeah.
Like that's why I felt embarrassed to come on something. So I'm like, damn, Brad. Like, it's just this been going on.
I prefer that more than like a huge list of games. I just want you to talk about what you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
Cog. Hearing you talk about, you're very passionate about this, which is great. What you have said sounds like a lot of what Chris said. You both right now are just very high on this game. It's like a whiplash from the last expansion where everyone was hating it and dogging it, and everyone's like, man, Bungie's the best again. It's crazy how they did that in like about a year. Just like the ups and downs. Bro,
the equivalent of Bungie reminds me of the kids who coasts through college or school, but whenever it's time for the final exam to get to the next grade he comes through. Like he coasts, he's late, not lazy, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's just Bungie. Like this case, I got to be honest, I was very scared for them because the reception was so bad. We're like, well, then we have to talk about the internal things, as far as Sony and Bungie and, them not meeting financial targets. And, the thought process is that, hey, if they fail again, the way contractually they're set up, Sony can take over the board. Right. And I'll be honest, no hate against PlayStation. I just feel like Bungie does extremely well with these shooting games, these live service games, and I want them to keep the core essence of who they are. So I'm literally pulling I don't want my game to die. I don't want it to be a different game.
I have been there, World of Warcraft fan. When Activision started coming in, I could feel their claws entering their way into World of Warcraft. Man, it's not a good thing, man.
Oh, so for me, this is super emotional. I'm pulling for them. Like, please, to see them do it was like, wow. Like, now, again, we don't know if this is going to be financially enough to save them, but critical acclaim, they have done it. I will say that. Yeah,
I've heard nothing but universal praise for this expansion, which is fantastic. That's so great to hear, Cog. A lot of what I'm hearing about this game reminds me. So Final Fantasy 14 is like my live service game that I play right now. And the last expansion, the current expansion we had is called Endwalker. And that was the culmination of like 10 years of story. It was the end game of it, whatever. So hearing you guys get that for Destiny now is really great. I'm really happy for you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Curious though, Cog. So I've talked to Chris a little about this, the future of Destiny.
Ooh.
It sounds like there's going to be some updates, of course, for this expansion. Are we doing D3 next, do you think? Are we dropping PS4, Xbox One? Next expansion, what do you think is coming?
So the vibe I get right now is we're still in a transitionary period. They ended Light and Dark Saga. Prior to this, they would do what we consider seasonal content, where it's about a month and, kind of. We've had Tom Form on my podcast, my Destiny podcast, The Last Word. We had Tom Farnsworth on, who's kind of like a gameplay designer. He does a lot of season expansion. And in the past, the way Destiny works is like the expansions is the main storyline, right? And then the season will be these like side beats that kind of get you there, but they're not directly affecting things. But what Destiny seems to be doing now is transitioning to these things called episodes, where they're not going to give you the frequent, every other month a new season, but now you go away. They'll give you a bit of content, and then they'll go away for about 3 or 4 months. So I think personally they're doing it to help their dev cycle, because I think that the reality is they just can't produce the quality content that they want every year. They may have to go away from that. But it's proven when they have more time, you get a quality product, right? So to your question, what I think is they're going to transition to episodes. We'll miss them a little bit. We'll have that little gap. Marathon, their other games coming out. I still think maybe late 2025, they mention a D3. I think D3 is coming. I do think it is. But I think it will be like maybe 2026 is when we finally get that. And at that point, I do agree with you. I think they will drop past generation support. The problem is there's still so many players
Yeah.
right now on
Yeah.
current gen, and it's just like, you know, I get it. So that's what I think the play will be, because unfortunately, you know, they have Marathon still releasing, so you can't kind of cannibalize these two releases. So I think Marathon maybe next year, and then hopefully a D3 at minimum announcement, you know, in 2026 that they'll be ready, and maybe it coincide, you know, with all the hardware. So we'll see.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Micah, Destiny, does it interest you at all? Have you played it?
Oh, so I loved the campaign in the first game. I do have like a little Dinklebot on my shelf because I loved Dinklebot. And I'm forever upset that people just bullied that character out of the game, essentially. I adored him. I thought he was so fun. I thought Peter Dinklage, you know, his line delivery I thought it was fun. I liked it. And
That wizard came from the moon.
Yeah.
I was so upset that people didn't like it. It's like, yeah, he's a little bit deadpan and kind of weird. Like, I liked it. But I really enjoyed the campaign in Destiny 1. I couldn't get into the online. My like online games, I love Call of Duty. I love Gears of War. I don't know. I haven't clicked with very many other multiplayer games. So Destiny wasn't really for me. Like I did not get into like Battlefront or Battlefield, like either of those. Like it just really, I seem to gravitate towards Call of Duty and Gears of War. But no, the campaign in that first Destiny really had me intrigued, and I did like that a lot. But no, post that, I haven't played Destiny since then. I feel like at this point, you're like, where do you start? If you want to get into this, like, what the hell do I do if I haven't played since Destiny 1 campaign? What do I even do? And what's available to me? Like, I don't even know how I jump in at this point. It feels like I should just wait for the next one.
Great segue, Micah. Benjamin Schroeder wrote in, "Hi, Cog. As someone who has never dipped his toe into Destiny 2 but loves the idea of a lifestyle looter shooter game, do you think it's at all possible for a newbie to get into Destiny 2 in 2024 and have any idea of what the hell is going on? Thanks for your thoughts and your time, and keep up the great work."
Yeah, that's a great question, because, you know, I've always ripped Bungie and Destiny for how terrible their onboarding is for
So
new
bad.
players. It is
So bad.
horrible. It is, you know, Destiny has this arrogance where they assume you've been playing, they assume you know what's going on, and also sometimes they don't do a great job of explaining the order of things. And again, on Last Word Podcast, one time we had two people on who were like Micah, like hadn't played Destiny since D1, came on and they were like, Cog, we loaded the game, a cutscene happened, we started a mission. At the end of it, it was like, okay, to continue this, now you need to pay for the expansion, blah, 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 right? Then you go off, and then next day you load in another cutscene from all these past expansions that you've missed, right? So what they've tried to do now is say, okay, if you missed Shadowkeep, Forsaken Witch Queen, we're going to give you that content now so you don't have this jarring thing. The problem is Bungie and the higher-ups, they're still not willing to acquiesce, for the most part, for some of the old content, the old expansions and stuff like that. So they've got this middle ground now that you can play a lot of the campaigns and stuff like that from that, and they'll just make you pay for end-game stuff for past content. So that's the happy medium, so that people who just care about the campaign and the story, like this is why I can't get Maddie, right? Because Maddie's like, I want Destiny 2 campaign from the beginning, Red War, to be able to play playable throughout to where we are now. And you can do mostly that, except vanilla D2, which for whatever reason, which is gone. And they started this thing called the Destiny Content Vault. So that part, again, I can't recommend that. However, I will say this, in defense of Final Shape, if you've been that far removed, the thing that I like what Final Shape does is it does give you this kind of recap. Okay, here is everything that has been going on since you've been gone, right? There's almost like there's stills, there's these I forgot the style of art they call it, but it's a recap. And also, if you've been away from D1, this is truly the D1 gang getting back together. The Zavala, the Ikora, the Cade 6, the ones you remember. It's getting the gang back together, and they explain why they're getting back together and explain why the witness is a threat to the traveler and all stuff. So it really jumps you right into the mix kind of thing. Don't get me wrong. I do tell people Witch Queen is something worth playing because I feel Savathun is this great anti-hero villain character who's voiced by Deborah. She is she steals the show.
Yeah.
She, I think, is one of their greatest characters they've ever done. So I always tell people, if there's one that you should go back to, is Witch Queen, because prior to Final Shape, I felt Witch Queen was peak Destiny. The problem with Destiny in the past was telling a compelling narrative. And what Witch Queen did is they flipped what we thought was true for so many years on its head about the hive race. It's just beautifully done. I don't want to spoil to it. That's the only one I would say go back to, and then you're fine. You go right into to the Final Shape. In my opinion, you can get full context. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Cog, I played base Destiny 2 when it came out. Had a good time. Didn't play. I came back for the Witch Queen. I heard everyone was talking about it. I remember when I came back to this, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? What am I doing? What's going on here? I don't know what's going on. Can I play these old campaigns? I don't know. Oh, I got to buy this old thing. Oh, this thing's gone now. It's just like, all right, guys. So let me ask you this, Cog.
Let's go. What's up?
Let me pitch you how Final Fantasy 14 does it. So Final Fantasy 14, you need to progress through each expansion to get to the next. You have to. You can hop into a new expansion, fresh start, but it costs money to do that. So they want you to go through this in a linear fashion. To get to the newest expansion, I have had to go through all the other expansions. It can be daunting for people, and if people are like, oh, I just want to play with my friends, makes total sense. But Final Fantasy is a very story-heavy game. It sounds like Destiny is kind of too. Would you want Destiny in the future to be like, yo, we're just going to make you go through all this stuff. To get to the expansion, you got to go through all the story. So everyone will be going on the same journey together. Everyone will have the same experience. We'll all be on the same page. Would you like them to do that more? Or are you okay with just kind of how things are now?
It's a catch-22, because I agree overall that the way they do it is probably better, because you get the full context of what's going on from a narrative perspective. You understand, who died, who's alive, what's going on, what's the threat. That's correct. I will say what they did with Final Shape has actually satiated a lot of new players. And what they did now is they say, okay, we understand you've been gone. Let's get the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is a new expansion comes out. A new player says, hey, this looks interesting. I want to play, right? I want to play with you, Cog.
Right.
I want to do the new content, but I'm not strong enough. My light level is, so what they've done now is say, okay, if you want to do that and you don't want to play the old stuff to learn, and you just want to play with your friend on the new content, now they have this thing. It's like I forgot the name of the term. So basically what happens is, let's say, because I've been playing all the time, my light level is the strongest. I am ready for content. I am at light level 2000. You come in, you haven't played in whatever, you're at light level 1000. I'm just making up numbers. So what they'll do is, now we can play Final Shape together. They'll up your average to, instead of 2000, you'll be at 1995.
Okay, so like level syncs you.
Yes.
To whoever's in your party.
This way, the removed player can now play all the new content with the person. And then I guess for me, being I'm the stronger one, kind of carrying, I get this thing called an extra commendation, and you get rewards though based at the light level that you should be. Now you ain't gonna get 1995 2000 gear, but you're gonna get light level gear according to where you are, and slowly build yourself up, and at the same time be able to experience the new content. Because past Destiny, you just couldn't. The newer returning player just could not play the new content at all. He would be barred from it, so to speak, and it'd make you do your homework assignments of having to do kind of the old stuff. So that's the way they handle it. But I agree with you, Brad. I still feel, and this is why I can't get a guy like Maddie to play, is that they do need something like Final Fantasy does, which is there should be a way to linearly experience all that campaign that was missed, and do it in a sequence. And then if that person really cares about the lore and what's been going on, I think they should be afforded that.
Yeah, because personally, I would have done that with Destiny 2, just to feel like I get everything and help immerse me in the game. Destiny 2 is like a different beast. Final Fantasy is a very story-heavy franchise. And I think, an expansion is as long as like a normal game to get through the campaign. I'm not sure how long Destiny campaigns are, but I know it's a different type of audience. Maybe they're looking for different things, I assume, out of the game. Destiny players, I think, probably just way more just want to get in the action with their friends, while Final Fantasy people are like, no, I want to go through this story. I want to experience everything first. So, it's like you said, it's a catch-22. There's positive and negatives to both. But it sounds like they're putting in the effort to try to address that, which is good. And I am curious to see what they come up with in the future. So that's good. All right, this is from Mr. Davey. What's up, boys and girl? Cog, you beautiful bastard. I have over 1,000 hours of Destiny 2, but the last 2 expansions were extremely lackluster for me. I thought I was done with Destiny until D3 came along. Wait, D3 came along. Oh, but hearing you talk about Destiny 2 and hearing you drop those 2 F-bombs put me over the edge. Whoa. Cog's dropping F-bombs.
Yeah, it's rare occurrence. I was excited. Okay. I was feeling myself. It's rare you got them. Duke got 2 in one day. Yes.
I had to jump in after that, and thank you so much for pushing me into doing so. It feels so good to be back. Once again, I am hooked, and it's you that I have to blame. Thanks, dude. Have a eyes up, Guardian kind of day. Love, Mr. Davey. Damn, Cog, the passion, the F-bombs are getting people to come back. Yeah, your words are power, my friend.
Appreciate it. Much love, Mr. Davey. I didn't realize that had that effect. That I got a lot of messages, but I was just so blown away because, again, like I told you, just the nervousness coming into the expansion, the pressure that I know the studio had coming into it, and I think that they killed it, man. They cooked. They absolutely cooked it. What's cool is to see. I think my biggest surprise was people who I know have historically ripped Destiny, rightfully so. Or review to say, hey, they've got to do better. This is not premium content or whatever, especially after Lightfall. And to see people say, oh, no, I am absolutely loving it. It blew me away because I know, listen, you play a game for so long, you have an inherent bias on some level towards the game because I know I love, this is my comfort food game. The shooting, right. The skyboxing, the space magic, that's what I like, right? But to see people like Mr. Davies say, hey, I was far removed, I tried it, and I'm loving it. Like, that really warns me that I knew, I'm like, okay, they did cook outside of the realm of the looter shooter guys who love Bungie kind of thing. So, salute.
Nice. Okay, we are back after a little water break. It's time for Sort It Out. On this segment, we just talk about something in the gaming industry that needs sorting out. Could be a company, a game specifically, or a person in the industry, or just something that's bothering you. For example, mine is going to be sorted out to myself, okay? Myself and a couple companies and games in general right now. So, I am in the middle of Shadow of the Erdtree. Loving it. However, the Final Fantasy XIV expansion comes out Friday. And I am a couple patches behind on content.
It's over.
I need to book it and get through that content and juggle Shadow of the Erdtree at the same time. It is like being pulled 2 ways at the same time. I'm just torn asunder right now. I need to get my act together, get through Final Fantasy, and still manage to play Shadow of the Erdtree. It's a struggle right now. How dare these 2 developers I love put their games a week apart from each other that are massive games. Insane. I'm struggling out here. So that's me. I got to sort that shit out and make sure I get everything in order because I'm dying here. Micah, what about you? Do you have anything that you think needs sorting out this week?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I'll say I'm with you, Brad, on being behind on games. I just bought some new 3DS games. Well, new to me, obviously. So, like, the backlog never ends.
What'd you buy?
So, I got Kirby Triple Deluxe, which I played before, but I never owned it. I got it on GameFly. Adored that game. It's one of my favorites, but I never owned it. Wanted to add that to the collection. I also got Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, which I never played Conquest or Birthright, or obviously the expansion Revelations. So, because on 3DS I played Fire Emblem Awakening and Echoes, which was a remake, and I loved both of those games. But it was really difficult to get the Fates games on GameFly, and that was back when I was in college and just had no monies. So I never got around to playing it. They are pretty affordable though. I got both those games for around $32-$33 each. And so I was like, all right, this is the time to get these before they go up in price. But I'm with you, man. The backlog never ends. It's just keeps going. My sorted out, I've been thinking a lot about the Order 1886. And I gotta say, sorted out to Sony for not giving some of these new IPs a second try. You think about the Order 1886, you think about a game like Days Gone. And what I go back to is think about something like Assassin's Creed. The first game to a lot of people is repetitive. It's a bit dull, but it had promise. I mean, first of all, I love Assassin's Creed 1. This is not a knock. It's actually my favorite game in the series. But if I think about if Ubisoft had stopped there, we wouldn't have gotten Brotherhood, Revelations, like some of my other favorites down the line. We wouldn't have gotten Black Flag. Like, if they had stopped at Assassin's Creed 1 because it was a bit repetitive, because it wasn't completely groundbreaking, then we wouldn't have gotten any of these other fantastic games. I'm not thrilled with where Assassin's Creed went in the long run, but that's besides the point. I just really feel like something like The Order 1886, because I believe Sony owns the IP for that. So regardless of Ready at Dawn being with Meta now, they could give it to somebody else. I just think the potential is so high for that game. The story had so many different avenues that could have been explored. There were hints in the game essentially that like, oh, you know, the Lycan threat could be in other continents. So it's like the next game could have been like The Order 1905 and it's in America, for example. Like there were so many different ways it could go. I just feel like Sony gives up on new IPs too quickly. Whereas then it's like, let's have, The Last of Us and let's remake it again and again and again. 'Cause, yeah, it sells like hotcakes. And it's like, well, you know what? Honestly, if you're printing money with The Last of Us, can't you just take a little bit of a risk with a new, The Order game, with a new Days Gone? Because, well, like, let's just be honest, you're printing money with these other ones. So, or, instead of having Horizon Part 55, like, can we just give them one more try? So my sword out is to Sony. I just think they need one more try, some of these devs, to get it right. And just to give them what, if something like Homefront, which sucked, got a sequel, which also sucked, okay? But even Homefront got another try. The Order was way better than that. So sort it out, Sony. Give new IPs a second chance. Nobody knocks it out of the park their first time, with very rare exception. So that's what I gotta hit him with.
All right. Yeah, well said.
Well said.
Cog, what about you, dude?
My sorted out is after the Nintendo Direct and being a huge FGC fighting game community member, this goes out to Capcom and Xbox. I need you to sort out whatever this MT framework nonsense is preventing these games from coming to your platform. And I get it. It's technical, it's something on the back end and Capcom needs a pipeline. But to me, if Xbox is supposed to be, a place of backward compatibility and forward compatibility, it behooves you to not have these type of titles miss your platform. It creates the talking point that you are the lesser than platform, that you don't get everything. And it pains my heart when I talk to Maddie and Mega Man Collection wasn't there. And, all these little things. I think even at one point, I think Square will fix it now, but there's the pixel art collection, missed out.
Pixel remaster.
Yeah. Like these things. Look, I get it. The financial guys are, it's probably not a base there or whatever it is. But to me, the perception of these things missing your platform is not helpful. And I know the relationships got better. Capcom's doing Path of the Goddess. I remember a time when Street Fighter wouldn't make it on Xbox. And, just that kind of, so I see the improvement. Just clean this part up. So Xbox and Capcom, please sort this out. This is a huge game. Please get it together, man.
Yeah. If I was Xbox, I'd be like doing whatever they need, beck and call to get, because, man, these games, this fighting game collection, not only are they great games, like Marvel vs. Capcom 2's on there. And it's like, man, what a beloved fighting game. What? Especially because it was on 360 also. It's just like, damn, you can't get it, man. You can't figure this. You guys got to figure something out.
Got to figure this out. So, yeah.
I mean, Cog, and also, man, it feels like Xbox is having a hard time with a lot of stuff skipping their platform. Not like, of course, they're getting huge games, but I've seen like a lot of smaller games kind of skip it, like limited run.
Yes.
A bunch of games that are skipping it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, damn, dude. Yeah, you guys gotta figure something out. Yeah. It's not. It's more like Death by a Thousand Cuts kind of thing. It's just like little things here and there. Little things. You're just like, damn. It's not like the huge temple stuff.
Right.
It's just like, man, it just hurts.
I agree. I get it. It creates that narrative, right? And it's smaller, but it keeps adding up, and you want to get in front of that. So I'm with you. The Death by a Thousand Cuts analogy, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. So hopefully, Marvel, everyone deserves to play Marvel. You got to get it out there. Legendary game. All right. This is from Patches. What's cooking good lookins? I have it sorted out for any gamers who had meltdowns over any of the recent gaming showcases. Not everything shown has to be exactly for you. For instance, I'm not a Marvel vs. Capcom fan or even a fighting game fan in general, but I'm very happy for people who get to relive the game. So happy, in fact, to the point of having grown man tears when seeing the reactions to it. In short, stop being selfish and stand down. There are plenty of games to play, you whores. Wow, we got a stand down and a sorted out in the same entry. All right, Patches. But yeah, this is something to remember always with these. Of course, you're allowed to not like things or not get excited. Thing totally valid. But it is cool when you see people get hyped about something. Maybe it's not on your radar. You're like, oh shit, maybe there is something to this I'm just not seeing here. So lots of great games all around.
Yep.
But obviously, out of those big three, Sony definitely had the worst out of the big three, easily. So
yeah,
they got, I don't know how much it matters, but like having a great thing because they seem to be doing just fine right now. But you want to see that big energy every now and then.
Yeah.
You want to see them come out swinging sometimes.
Oh yeah, they've had some grown man tier showcases. I remember.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. You're like, oh my god, Final Fantasy. Oh my god, Shenmue.
Yeah,
oh
man.
my god,
I was there.
Oh yeah. Classic moments. Absolutely. So yeah, I agree, Patches. And also, we gotta let people, we gotta stop stealing joy from others. Even you know, when people
let
are,
people be happy and excited.
Yeah, let them have their moment, man. Even if it's not for you. Like same thing. I'm not the Souls guy, but I love to see what's happening in the community. It's their time. It's their moment. People have been waiting for this kind of stuff.
This is from Papa Biscuit. Sorted out game tutorials that over-explain everything with paragraphs of text. I am looking at you, Monster Hunter Rise. I mean, what the fuck? The opening of the game has like 20 plus minutes of text tutorials. They tell you how to take a fucking picture before they tell you how to fight. Instead of doing the tutorial mission, I just started exploring the open area. Why does combat feel like you're swinging at imaginary monsters? No hit stun, no collision, just see the numbers go up. I've never been a Monster Hunter guy, but I try. I always say, this will be the one. Everyone talks highly about it, but getting through the tutorials was more challenging than Elden Ring ever was. Just let me play. All right, Papa Biscuit. I will acknowledge, and I think the tutorials for Monster Hunter games are very, very rough. The onboarding is not super smooth. Monster Hunter games are deceptively deep and complex. It's like learning a weapon to me is like learning a fighting game, a character in a fighting game. There's so much nuance to it, like spacing, all that stuff, super important combos. It's all very tough, and it's a hard series to get into, I would say, for a lot of people. Like, I didn't get into it until World. I tried with past ones and it never clicked with me, but World's where it clicked with me. But I gotta push back a little bit here on the combat. No hit stun, no collision, just the numbers go up. I think you could not be more wrong, Papa Biscuit. I think there is so much of that stuff in these games, but it sounds like you barely gave it a shot and got into the weeds with the game. So you're just scratching the surface. I think if you actually played the games more and got into them more, you would realize how wrong you are. Because you are off base hard, Papa Biscuit. I respect your opinion, but stand down, Papa Biscuit. All right. All right. This is from Haru Discourse. I would like to send it sorted out to Atlas for having so many obscure games that aren't available on modern hardware. I recently saw a copy of Micah's beloved 7th Dragon 3 Code VFD at my local game store. Is that a real game, Micah?
Yes, it's my all-time favorite 3DS game. It's the only 7th Dragon game that we got in the West.
All right. You guys making fun of Kingdom Hearts titles, all right? Why don't you send a little of that to Atlas, okay? That was an insane title. But it was just too expensive for me to justify trying it out. I feel like I always see cool older Atlas games in the $65 to $500 price range with no modern way to play them. What gives? Yeah, Haru, that it's always a bummer. Atlas, notorious for that kind of stuff. At least they did Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. We got that. We're getting a couple other things, but yeah, they definitely need to set that shit up. Atlas, though, they love nickel and diming you. They love it. They're one of like the worst offenders with all that shit. DLCs, new
DLC.
versions,
Oh.
they are ruthless on that kind of stuff.
I seen them moving. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so definitely would love to get easier access to a lot of those older games.
Oh,
'Cause, you
yeah,
know, we're in the
absolutely.
digital
I
age.
saw someone recently mention that they were playing Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology, which is like the 3DS version of that game, and it has some different features essentially. I tried that game. I couldn't really get into it at the time, but it's just some really neat stuff that is just locked away on old consoles, and it's like I'll pay for it again. All right, I'll pay for it all again. Just bring it to the new stuff. But I forever lament that we didn't get the Seventh Dragon series here, that we only have one and no one else has ever played it, so I don't get to talk to people about it. Like the ending of that game, I've never gotten to share my feelings with anyone about it because it's just like nobody's played it, or people who played it have only dabbled in it. And it's like that game made me weep. All right, I cried for like a week.
Wow.
And I don't have anyone to talk to about it.
Oh,
That's a shame.
that's a shame. That
That is a damn shame. Yeah, sort it out, Atlas. Let people experience that joy that Micah felt.
Exactly.
All right, time for the exact opposite. Keep it up! Stuff we're very pleased with in the game industry. Who's killing it right now? What are we happy with? I will go first real quick. You guys know I'm a big Zelda fan. I love Zelda. I was at first disappointed that the Nintendo Direct, no Twilight Princess or Wind Waker HD, those sons of bitches. Just give me those games. I'm sick of waiting. However, we did get a brand new Zelda game starring Zelda actually herself. And we have not gotten that since the Philips CDI days.
Yes.
And those games are dog shit, by the way. They're
Terrible.
I can't even enjoy them I like unironically. I can't even do it that way. They're so bad. They're
You had a
so
CDI?
bad, dude. It
I
bums
was
me
just curious. I'm nosy. You had a CDI. I never had one.
No. I played it recently
Okay.
at my old work, and dude,
Terrible.
it's fucking awful. It's just awful, man. Just horrible. I can't even play it for fun and memes. I just was like, I got like mad playing it. But yes, we're getting a new Zelda game where you get to play Zelda actually, and it looks very charming, very cute. It's from, I believe it's from Grezzo, the guys that did the Link's Awakening remakes. It has the same exact style. We get to play Zelda. She's got her own toolkit. She's not swinging the sword around, which I think is cool. She like makes copies or echoes, if you will, of stuff in the world. Looks really fun. I can't wait to use monsters to fight other monsters. It just looks damn charming, and I'm happy to see it. So good job, Nintendo. Oh yeah, shout out Metroid Prime 4. Finally seen gameplay of that game. I think that game got announced like 7 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that. It was just like a JPEG.
Yeah.
And I was like, we can hear from it.
Yeah, it's
good.
like an Elder Scrolls 6 thing. Same vibe.
Yep.
Same vibe. Micah, let's start with you again.
But yeah, so what I had written down actually was the new Zelda game as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a Zelda person, but this looks so fun and inviting that I'm going to give this a try. Like, it's
Excellent.
different because what really appeals to me about this game, I know that in like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I know that those games are also set up in a fashion where there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? There's more than one way to solve the puzzle. Okay. Like you're not locked into, one way to get past these things. I still just don't enjoy some of the aspects of those games, like the weapons breaking, things like that I just don't really get into. This game looks like, in my opinion, kind of like Zelda Light, in the way that it does not look nearly as challenging as those other games. The puzzles look much simpler to overcome, and you have just so many options with Zelda's copy ability, essentially, that it just looks like there's 100 ways to do this and it'll work. And it just does. It looks adorable. I'm totally into this. So this is something that I'm really excited for. And I'm with you, Brad, too, that I was disappointed that we didn't get like Wind Waker on Switch, because I would play it. I absolutely would play that if they put it on Switch. Maybe Switch 2. Maybe that's what they're holding out for. But
God,
yeah, between this game and Mario and Luigi Brothership, giving us another, Mario Brothers RPG, which we just seem to really be enjoying these, the Nintendo fans lately having a great time with the remakes that they're putting out. I am thrilled with this new idea for Zelda. Nintendo's not afraid to try new things. Nintendo's not afraid to give something a go. I mean, you even look at things like Princess Peach Showtime, which wasn't for me. It was just, in my opinion, a bit too juvenile for like me as an adult gamer. But they made a game that was ideal for all the little girls in the world, boys too, of course, but they really were like, let's give Peach a very fun and inviting game. It's incredibly simple. I definitely, Nintendo, keep it up with trying new things.
Yeah, they are good about reinventing their franchises they have. They don't like put out like a ton of new IP. They do make new IPs, but not like a ton. They just reinvent their franchise a lot, which I think works for them really well. Clearly, financially and critically, because their games are excellent.
Yeah.
Cog, quickly, are you a Zelda fan?
Yeah, I like Zelda. I
Okay,
love
cool.
Breath of the Wild. Didn't finish Tears, but I started, but I did finish. But for me, like, it's so funny because as a Sega kid, you know, I had like the Nintendo hate back in the day. There was console warring in my young age. So, I mean, like, all my friends had it, you know, and I did eventually get a Super Nintendo and stuff like that. But I remember at the time I had a Master System. But basically where I'm going to is that I remember when the Switch was announced and I said to myself, that's going to work. And it really brought me back into the Nintendo ecosystem and all the things I missed. And I remember seeing Breath of the Wild, and I'm like, yes, they're doing 3D, they're doing modern stuff. Like, that was my only issue. I was just like, please step into the modern era, Nintendo, please. So when they did that, I was like, oh, they're speaking to my heartstrings. So absolutely. So yeah, I've always love the Zelda games and stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, seeing the new director stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, this is long overdue, you know, to get an actually Zelda in the damn game and doing her as the protagonist is kind of cool. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Micah, did you play the Link's Awakening remake?
No, I did not. I was told it would not be a good first Zelda game. So because I was thinking like, oh, this looks really cute. And then I was told not to have that be my first Zelda game. Multiple people. Because I think I mentioned it on Punching Up that I was like, I might give this a try. And I saw a lot of comments saying like, I don't know if that's a great one to jump into. So I was like, well, I certainly wouldn't know. So, but I thought it looked really cute. But I don't know. I'm not sure where I should start.
Micah, I think if you think it looked cute and interesting to you, you should just play it.
Oh, that's terrible advice, Brad.
It's a smaller scale Zelda.
Oh, is it?
It's not as daunting. So if might be a good place to start. People love that game. I like it a lot too. I don't like it as much as the other people, but people love it. If it's going to get you to just try Zelda, just try it. Like because like Wind Waker, Micah, it's going to be a minute, okay? It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while.
And Wind Waker, I've seen that whole game multiple times. I watched my roommate play through all of it. I watched Game Grumps play through it.
I knew you were going to say Game Grumps. Yes, I was waiting for it.
Well, that's why because a couple years ago, Game Grumps played Wand of Gamelon, and then like there's a compilation of like the best moments of that. It's one of their best series they ever did. Terrible game.
Yes. But
I have an appreciation for the Zelda games because I've watched other people play them. And like Twilight Princess, I've seen all the way through. I just didn't like playing it. That's kind of where I fall on these. Like, I think the stories are cool. I love Ganon. I think he's like one of the coolest villains ever. Yeah, but I just don't enjoy playing them. I have not yet found one that I enjoyed playing.
Okay. Well, you have the Switch Online, right?
No, but I should pay for it. No. I actually, though, I canceled my Xbox Live subscription for the first time in like 10 years, so I probably am going to sign up for Nintendo Online instead.
Okay, there's a ton of Zelda games on there. So, I mean, you can play Ocarina of Time, one of the greatest games ever if you want.
Oh, the fucking water temple? You're going to put me in the water temple, Brad, as my first try?
Into the game. That's far into the game. Just use a guide if you get stuck. Just use a guide.
I'm gonna get stuck, and I know that game. You got to roll all the time because it's faster than walking. You got to listen to him do the hi-ya the whole time.
There's a lot of hi-yas. There's a lot of hi-yas. Maybe Link to the Past. Then you can play that. That's an all-time great as well.
All right. You know, I might give this a go, Brad. We'll see.
Okay, report back because I'm curious. I need to get you into Zelda. All right, let's hear from the audience. This is from Brian Borlaug. Hey, all. I want to give a keep it up to Lucas Pope. After recently playing his amazing game, Mars After Midnight, and finally justifying my purchase of a Playdate console, I went back to his earlier games, Return to Obra Dinn and Papers, Please, and found some of the freshest and original ideas in modern gaming. In a sea of same shit, new coat of paint, his games really shine, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Yeah, people love I haven't played Papers, Please. I played a little bit of Obra Dinn and I was not in the mood for it when I played it, but it was very unique. So I know people love that guy's games, so it's great. Always love new experiences. Good shit. Love to hear it. All right, this is from Damon Vetri. Keep it up, Remedy and Sam Lake. I finished the Night Springs DLC this week, and the way that the Remedyverse is connecting through all their various franchises is really exciting for the future. After this DLC, I'm even more pumped for Control 2. Let's raise a cup of delicious Oh Dear Diner coffee to Sam Lake and the team at Remedy. It's not a lake, it's an ocean.
Nice,
Yeah.
salute.
Yeah, shout out Remedy. Really cool developer, really unique. Love their work.
Oh, yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Really excited for those Max Payne remakes.
Yes, big time.
All right, it's from James Solar. Hey, gang. I like to award a Keep It Up to Nintendo Switch Online. It's a great way for me to check out the NES and SNES games that I've missed. Additionally, I find it exciting that every mainline Metroid game is available on Switch, and every Donkey Kong Country game will be there in January. Keep it up, best James S. And Micah, that's a sell for you. Get that Switch Online. There's a lot of great stuff on there.
No,
I wish I could
really
buy the
should.
games, but you can't. You can rent them at least.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know. I loved, first of all, I'm going to say SNES. I loved the SNES Mini. All right.
Mhm.
Got me into Kirby's Dream Course. I
All
fucking
right.
love Kirby Golf. That became one of my favorite games. I got so hooked on it. I keep hoping they'll bring that back in some capacity. Like, imagine if they bring back Kirby's Dream Course for new consoles. That'd be amazing. But yeah, I should get into this because I still bring out my Game Boy Advance SP from time to time, right?
Nice.
Things like that. And it's like, I should just be playing these on the online on Switch, the ones that are available. But instead, I'm just like, well, why don't I go on Lukey Games and see if I can get some cheap Game Boy Advance games, right? I don't know why it's like me still buying CDs and how long it took me to start using Spotify. I really should just stop.
Well, there's something magical about playing on the original hardware. So I totally get it. I love playing the original hardware. I mean, of course, it's extremely convenient just to be able to play on your Switch all those games. But something about that, holding that SP in your hand, you got to find those games, though. Hopefully they're cheap. They're usually not.
Yeah. No. And I actually, shout out to Sean Mason, another fantastic listener, who sent me one of his extra Game Boy Advance chargers because I lost mine at some point. And he was just like, oh, no, let me send you one. I have extras. Because there is something, my Game Boy Advance it's starting to die. It still works, but it does not hold more than an hour's charge anymore.
Ooh.
So it's like, you just got to sit next to the outlet the whole time.
Yeah.
Like she's still running, but one of these days I'm going to go to turn it on. It's just going to be dead. I can feel it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
All right. Speaking of Nintendo, let's talk about Metroid Zero Mission. So this got announced to come to the Switch Online service and the recent Direct. I decided to play it before Elden Ring came out. I needed something fairly short to play. This game's probably like 5 or 6 hours. So I was like, hell yeah, it's time. I haven't played this since it came out, which is a long time ago. But so Metroid Zero Mission is a remake of the original Metroid, the 1986 NES game. Right off the bat, this is a far superior version to the original game. This is a way better version to get into the game. I do not recommend the old one over this in any way. The old one is cool. I like the way it looks. It's very nostalgic, but this is just an all-around better game in nearly every way. So, also, this is a good place to start if you're curious about Metroid. It is like kind of sets the template, and it's more modern in some ways. One example is, unlike the original Metroid, this tells you where to go. It gives you a general idea. You go to a spot, it opens up your map, and it's like, whoop, here you go right here. Original Metroid, not so much. You don't really got any of that. So it's easier in that front. But yeah, it's a remake of Metroid. It's really cool just to get to see Samus's first quote-unquote real mission, her going down to the planet, really selling that feeling of isolation you get there. It's really great. This is also a very colorful Metroid, I feel like, very vibrant Metroid, which is very cool. Pretty unique for the series. I mean, the series, very gorgeous. All throughout. Great art, all the visuals, awesome, like Prime games, stunning looking. Love all that shit. But this one definitely stands out in a lot of vibrant color areas. Lots of good, fun stuff to do in this game. The progression is really nice. The classic Metroidvania elements. Getting there, you start real early, get the ball right off the bat. Love that real quick. Also, shout out to the beginning of this game, and the original had this as well, of teaching you right away, especially in the early days. You come down the elevator, the game starts. Most of the games you go to the right away. You know, think Mario Brothers. Think of any of those side scroller games. You always go to the right. Metroid, you go to the right, you hit a dead end. You can't progress, and it just teaches you right away. Like, oh shit, maybe I should go left. Setting the example of what this game is, you go left, you get the morph ball, then you can start rolling under all that stuff. Just really cool game design from the 80s that I really like. There's a couple of things they've added in this game also. First, the bosses are way better, of course, than the original. Like Ridley, way cooler. Kraid, I think his name is Kraid. He's like this big guy. If you've played Super Metroid out there, you know what I'm talking about. I was looking at comparisons to the original and the remake, and it's like night and day how much cooler they look and how much more there's going on. They've also added a few new abilities, like Samus can grab onto a wall now, like pull herself up, which helps with a lot of the navigation. They've kind of tweaked some of that stuff. Also, there's a whole new area in the game. Originally, the game ends after you defeat the final boss, and that's the end of the game. This one, though, they've added a whole new section right after that where you play Zero Suit Samus, which is a stealth section. It's all focused on stealth. You don't have your armor, anything like that. All you got is a little stun pistol, and you got to sneak through this way. There's wires like going through. If you hit the lights, like alert, you get chased by space pirates. You got to ditch them. It's cool. I don't like it as much as being normal Samus with her armor and everything like that, blasting everybody, but it is cool and it shakes up the gameplay a little bit. And it's not too long, which is nice, but it's an experiment I'm happy they did, but I don't know if it pays off necessarily 100%. But I'm happy about that. But there's a cool moment going through all this is when you get your suit back, then you start going through that area again and you're just blasting everybody. And it feels really good. There's also some new bosses in this game, which is cool. I appreciate that. Adding stuff on to the game original, I think is really good. It reminds me of Resident Evil 1 in a lot of ways. So, you had Resident Evil 1 on PS1, then they did the remake on GameCube, and it had like the foundation of the first game, but they just added kind of stuff onto it to flesh it out more and expand upon it, which is still Resident Evil 1 remake, one of the best remakes in my mind of all time. This is a really good remake of Zero Mission, or of Metroid 1, the superior version of my way to play this game. But yeah, it's hard to say. Like if you've played Metroid, you know what you're getting into. You got your ice beams, which is funny. You could freeze some guys and jump on them. That comes in the platforming, all that stuff. The fast run, you're running through and you busting through walls, all that cool shit. It's a really cool game. Short game. Not a whole lot I could say about it because it's based off Metroid 1. Fairly simple game, but it is a great way to play Metroid 1. It's on the Switch online service, so if you're curious about it, Fusion is also on there. If you've never hopped into a Metroid game, it might be a pretty good place to start, especially because in the timeline order, it's like the first in the timeline if you're into that kind of stuff. But yeah, Zero Mission, cool game. Really like it. Short, easy to get through. Yes. Micah, do you like Metroid? Are you into Metroid at all?
Oh, so I've never played one.
Okay.
And
You're on a Nintendo podcast, Micah. You gotta get into these.
I see, but then you talk about stealth. I don't like stealth.
Well, don't play this one then. Play the other ones.
Well, yeah,
Super Metroid.
I'll skip that one. No, it's funny because when at the Nintendo Direct, it's like, yeah, we finally get to see, the new Metroid. And it's like, what do they show? She shoots some guys and she rolls around in a ball. And I'm like, and people have been waiting 7 years for this. Like, It's just, so no, I've never played one. I don't, where should I start? If I were to try one of these, where should I start?
Well, do you want a 3D one or a 2D one?
Let me ask you, is this one of those games where the map is all like spaghetti tubes, and it's all confusing? Is this one of those? I hate that. No. No, I can't do that. The stress. I watch Colin, because Colin loves those spaghetti games, and I can't. He'll pull up the map and I just want to like rip my hair out. It makes me so stressed out. I'm like, they've got all these. I remember trying to help my roommate at the time was playing like Guacamelee, and we're trying to help him get to like a specific place on the map, and it's all confusing. And I'm just like, I hate this so much.
Maybe don't play Metroid then.
I don't think it's for me.
Maybe don't play Metroid then. Okay, fair enough. Cog, Metroid, You in? What's going on with your history of Metroid?
Yeah, it's kind of... I'm upset that Metroid is not as popular, I feel, as it should be comparatively.
It's not. It historically does not sell as well as people speak highly of it.
That breaks my heart because that's the one that I actually resonated with. And I remember like being a kid and the reveal that Samus was a woman. Like it was a big deal. I was like, oh, this is cool. You know, that kind of thing. And then, you know, the whole idea of Metroidvania where it's like, okay, like you said, Brad, you get to a certain part. They let you get access to it earlier, but you can't progress past it until you get said ability or said. I've always liked that kind of thing. And then I remember, what was it, the Super Nintendo or when was it? The first 3D one. I always forget which console. Prime.
GameCube.
Yes, GameCube. Got you. And I'm like, whoa, this looks good. Like this is. I didn't know if they could pull off, you know, first person and you know shoot the cat.
It was a controversial thing at the time.
Yes,
I definitely being confused when I first heard about that.
Yes, I actually liked that. You know, they attempted it, and I saw Prime, and that's probably Zelda. Of course, surprisingly, I'm not the biggest Mario person, to be honest, but in my rankings, it's like Zelda, but Metroid was always one I liked from them. So yeah, I'm pulling for it. Hopefully it does well financially now. You know, people get on board and it gets the love it deserves. And that the last one that came out on Switch that was 2D. Dread was good. I like Dread. Dread. So yeah, I'm a Metroid fan.
I want to say that one sold pretty well. Okay, maybe one of the fastest or best selling Metroid games. But yeah, historically Metroid, as cool as it is and how many fans it seems to have and how highly people speak of it, it just does not do well.
Yeah. That's
well enough to survive, I guess, but not as well as it should. Especially for how influential it is on games as a whole.
I agree.
All right. This is from Nevitz. Good day, high-level summoners. I am almost finished with my playthrough of most of the mainland Mario games for the first time. I was wondering what my next Nintendo Series playthrough should be until Nintendo announced Metroid Zero Mission on Switch. Is Zero Mission the version I should start with? Should I do the original NES game at all? I've only ever played around 2 hours of Metroid Fusion when I was a kid. Thanks for all the input and have an awesome day. Don't play the original, play this over that instead. If you're really into NES games and you're fine with like Metroid 1 is incredibly, there's like a part that's incredibly obtuse. It's like a Castlevania 2 kind of thing where I'm just like, how the fuck would you figure this out? Unless you had Nintendo Power kind of thing. This makes it much more easier. Obviously, updated visuals. The visuals look very good in this, by the way, too. So I would recommend Zero Mission over that any day. But Zero Mission's a pretty good one to start with. Of course, people think, and I agree most of the time, mostly is Super Metroid is like the GOAT in the 2D Metroids. But like Dread's awesome, too. Dread's a much more challenging game, though. What's cool about Zero Mission is it's brief. Get in there, you're not dragging along too long. The map's not too big or anything like that. It's a nice little starting point, and it is the first in the timeline. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good place to start. And it just came out on Switch Online, so give it a shot. All right, this is from James Solar. Hello, Brad. I was hoping you'd spend a minute to outline your history with the Metroid series. I assume you've played Metroid Fusion before, but I was curious if you're playing it through Nintendo Switch Online, how is it? Do you plan to visit any other Metroid games with Zero Mission recently launching Nintendo Switch Online? All right, James. So I've beaten every single Metroid except Hunters, which is on DS, and Federation Force, which are like, kind of like spinoffs, I guess. But I've played through every Metroid before that. So I love Metroid. I am a big fan of these games. I love Metroidvanias. I'm the exact opposite of Micah. Give me that spaghetti map. Let me look at it and figure out where I need to go. Let me get that progression and backtracking and stuff. I love all that kind of stuff. I was recently playing Prime, the remaster, which is very good. I know Dustin's not a fan of that game, but I think it's a very good game, and the Switch version is very nice. Looks really good. So I love all that. I'm very hyped from Prime 4. I've been waiting for that for a long time. I love Metroid. So I'm actually playing through Prime on and off right now in my own time. I'm very far into the game because I hadn't played it since GameCube days. So it's been really fun revisiting. And man, that game works so... They did such a good job with that game. I can't believe how well it works in first person 3D. It's like insane how well of a job they did. So Retro, shout out Retro. I love Retro Studios. They gave me my beloved Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. One of the GOATs, man. Mm-hmm. I love them. But yeah, always looking for Metroid. Happy it's back. All right, Micah, let's talk about Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. So you finished this. I got to chapter 3 and I haven't gone back yet just because Elden Ring and other stuff has come out. I enjoyed the game, or I haven't been enjoying the game, but at chapter 3, it's definitely at a part where I'm like Let's wrap this up. Let's speed this up kind of thing like that. Talk to me. You finished the game. You're not a huge fan of it, but let's get into why.
Yeah, Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Boar, as it should be called.
Jeez.
Now here's the thing. Having finished the game and stepped back from it, it's a great game.
Mm-hmm.
My problem with the game is that there is far too much story for how silly it is. And just as an example, Super Mario RPG, very short, okay? It's witty, it's funny. There's not much dialogue, though, okay? The dialogue's very well done. There's some genuine moments of, like, it's very cute and sweet. The problem with Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is that the dialogue, the story itself, is cute, charming little Mario story. There is way too much dialogue. We're talking about having Yakuza-length cutscenes in a Mario game. And there's just not enough to back this up. It's just not that good of a story. It should be short and sweet when it comes to the dialogue. Like the gameplay itself, first of all, the aesthetic of the game, I love the papercraft look. It's adorable. It's charming. Like this is a game that you really enjoy being in the world because it just looks so fun to explore. The move sets that you have, for each character are pretty simple to figure out. The timing is what adds a bit more challenge, getting the timing right for blocking and extra damage. That adds a nice layer challenge to it. Overall, I think it's a great game, but if it would have hit so much different if I was a kid and this was one of like 3 games you got for the whole year, because there is so much story and there is so much content. Luigi shows up periodically just to tell you stories. And the whole point is that his stories are so boring that Mario falls asleep listening to them. But like after the first one, I'm not clicking on Luigi ever again because I'm 30 and I don't have time for this. There's an entire bulletin board of people who need help. And I was just like, there's already so much to do. This is already a lengthy game. Like, I don't need this. If I was a kid, though, and you're budgeting your time, with your Christmas and your birthday presents and what can I get this year, it would have been fantastic because this game would last you a very long time. But as an adult, especially having loved, the Super Mario RPG so much because of its brevity, because it was a really great game without overstaying its welcome, and this just felt like the complete opposite direction. So I enjoyed it. They did a lot of cool things. The battle system's cool. The audience playing a part, that, if you do more entertaining moves, then you kind of get more access to power-ups because the audience like fueling this star meter that then you can use for specials. Like there was a lot of cool stuff here. But what entirely held it back for me was the bloated story. Way too much dialogue for a story that it's not that interesting. Like it's a very simple Mario story, and that's exactly what it needs to be. But it just did not need this level of explanation at the end of the day. That's what I keep getting hung up on. And you're on chapter 3, Brad. This is what on Punching Up, we tried very hard just not to really spoil anything. And so if you're comfortable, I'm just going to say like for chapter 3, let's say, I'll just like to talk about, I'm not going to say anything about the mysteries. I'm not going to say anything about the investigation of the stage, but the stage itself is a perfect example of how this game just overstays its welcome. In that stage, you have to fight through this tournament system. It's like very like pro wrestling, which I loved that part of it, but you have to do 20 battles. And at first when they said that, I kind of thought, probably halfway through, there's going to be some story moment and you don't actually have to do all these. And you do. You have to do all 20 battles with these special conditions. If you mess it up, you have to retry it. And that doesn't sound that bad in itself because at first it was a change of pace. Like, okay, instead of having like a dungeon or instead of having this, big outdoor area to explore, we're going to do these battles. And it just gets old so fast, man. And there's like an investigative component throughout that chapter as well that breaks it up a bit. But it just felt like this could have been half the length and it would have been better for it. This could have been 10 battles and it would have been better. Dustin completely like hit a wall at that point of like, I don't want to play this anymore. And it's like, it goes from being a change of pace to being way too much. And that's how I felt like for the entirety of the game. There's another stage where you're very, very mild spoiler. There's a stage where you're on a train. And all right. And I mean, like, this is the level of like not spoiling we got into on punching up. Like, we didn't even say that, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like there's a stage where you're on a train. And there's one part where you just are walking back and forth from the very far end of the train, talk to a person. They send you to the very back of the train to talk to a person. And you have to go back and forth between them as their mediator. And it's just boring. It's just things like that that just feel padded. Like, it just feels like, why is this game so long? That part wasn't fun at all, to just be walking back and forth between this long stage, and that's all it is. Mm-hmm. So there's just examples like that of, man, this has a lot of potential to be even better if they had just tightened it up just a little bit.
Shown a little restraint. Yeah, I agree. Chapter 3, like you said, the idea is cool, and I was excited when I first got there, but it just kind of, it drags way too long, especially you do the conditions, like you're saying, you do the fight, then you come back to your locker, which is cool, and I like there's contestants or people there also you talk to. It's like you got to hit the screen, you got to wait for that little person to come in to let you through. It's just like, let me just keep going kind of thing. And it is 20 fights. It's not, and these aren't like really necessarily quick kind of things. Maybe if you're like a speedrunner, you can do these quick. I'm sure you can. But it definitely does just kill the momentum, in my opinion, where I was just like, okay. When I was like you, Mike, I'm like, oh yeah, there's something that's going to come up. I'm not going to have to do 20. And it's just like, oh, you're doing 20. Settle in.
They
it's
meant
like, okay, I guess. I'm not too thrilled about that. Especially because like the first couple chapters, like I liked using like the little Pikmin guys. I thought they were just little Pikmin. You like go through this dungeon with them and all. I'm like, this is all fun. I like doing all that kind of stuff. And the first one like that too. But it's just like chapter 3 is kind of, I'm not really into chapter 3 that much.
No, and we didn't talk about the badge system, for example, where you can, it's just a way to add on to, you can either add special moves with badges, or you can just sort of like enhance Mario's abilities, or you can add on things like if your partner like appeals to the crowd to get more star points, they get more of them. Like, you can do things like that. You can sort of customize him on the fly that way. So like, depending on which stage you're on, you can change how you play a bit. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. Like, I really do say that stepping back from the game after a couple of days of not playing it, I will say it's a great game. Yeah. But in the moment, there were some times where I was just getting so bored that I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it at all. And some of the, for example, as you mentioned, with Metroid, like there are some things that you get to and you're like, okay, I definitely don't have the right ability to open this door yet, or to do what, like, there's clearly something here, but I don't have the ability to do it yet. You get rewarded later on by gaining new party members. They have their own special abilities, and then you get to see more of the world itself. But it just feels like it takes so long that by the time I had the ability to get to this new stage, I was just like over it. And I barely wanted to explore because it took them so long to give me the opportunity to do that, right? So, like, I appreciate the variety of the stages. I appreciate what they intended. Like, chapter 3, really cool idea that you're going to do this like wrestling tournament essentially and break up how the game plays. But it's just done poorly in the end, I feel. Like, it's just like things were just too stretched out, essentially. There's also some stages that they feel poorly designed for other reasons. For example, sometimes you'll have a stage where like all the enemies are sharp. They're either wearing like a pointed helmet or they have horns. So that means Mario can't jump on them. But you're doing the entire stage then with Mario can only do either hammer attacks or special attacks. And that gets boring because you have all these moves and you can't use any of your jumps for sometimes an entire stage. It really will be that every single enemy's pointy. And that's just a weird choice. It's a weird choice to give Mario this whole move set, and then you're just locked into like, well, everybody in this stage is pointy and you can't jump on them. Like that gets annoying. Or everybody in the stage is floating, so you can't use the hammer on them type deal. Like, things like that feel odd. with all the variety you gave us, but then kind of locking us into what we're allowed to do in each stage just feels weird. Those things just really stuck out to me the longer that I played the game, and just feeling like some of the stage design for what they gave us in variety was just like poorly executed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know there was like whole stages of whatever. You got to use your hammer or something like that. I think it's cool in like you're in a fight and like whatever, one guy's flying or one guy's like a spike or something like that. So you're like, okay, I got to adjust during that. But like, yeah, maybe if they just double down on that too much, I could see that getting very annoying. But yeah, interesting to hear. Yeah, that I've heard nothing but like people loved this game and people are like, oh, this is one of the best games ever, you know, best RPGs ever. It's really interesting for us three who'd never played the original. Like, I haven't beaten the game, so I don't know yet. But I think the game is very great, and I really like it. But just like that one spot is like, I didn't really expect that from this game, based off what I heard about it. But
Right.
maybe it's just us.
Well, that's the thing, man, because like I've seen when the lead up to this game, and I was seeing people say things like, oh, I played the original 10 times. And I'm like, okay, well, it's got to be then a pretty, you know, I don't know, it's got to be either a pretty short experience or just a, you know, pretty linear experience that you're willing to play this that many times. And it turns out these people just love it that much, because it's not a very short experience. And there's a lot of their dialogue to get through and things like that. I'll say that maybe it is a me problem. Maybe it's my expectation after seeing, you know, the first, you know, Mario RPG that I played, and I expected it to be a bit more like that, I guess. So like I knew it would be a longer game, but I didn't know it was going to be what I consider to be artificially longer, because a lot of it is dialogue, a lot of it's backtracking. The fast travel system is not great. It's things like that that just make there's a mission at one point that essentially just has you go back to every place you've ever been. All right. And the fast travel is not great. And it makes you just go back to every place you've ever been to talk to people. And it's just boring. It's just boring. You know, I definitely, I don't see myself playing this one again anytime soon, you know, and I don't have any interest in the content that I intentionally missed out on, like Luigi's little stories, like the bulletin board. I didn't get to the end of the game and say, okay, you know, maybe I'll go check out that bulletin board and go do some of that stuff. I was just ready to be done with it. It's a rare feeling in a game for me to be like, oh, I'm glad this is over. I'm glad I finished it. I'm glad I played it all. And the story was cute, but I don't know. I got to the end of this game and was just happy that it was finally finished. I felt like Frodo, you know, getting to the mountain finally, like throwing that ring in the volcano. I was done.
That's awesome. Cog, man. Any interest in Paper Mario, the series in general? Or are you good?
Yeah, this is where, you know, me and Nintendo part our ways. You know, look, I understand. It's just these type of games are just not for me. Oh, older Cog feels like the creepy guy at the playground. And I can't do it. Look, I get it. It's adorable. It's cute. It's not, these games are not for me. My demographic tends, as the joke on Duke is, because they always clown me what they know me in these style of games with Nintendo. So like the joke is like, oh, but Cog, you like the team games. You have no problem being creepy there. So it's like, all right, cool, you got me, right? All right, you got me. But it's just I'm just past this, and that's where, you know, me and Nintendo, our separation has gone over the years. But salute to everybody. Look, I understand these games are adorably cute. You know, I looked at the art style, the paper stuff. It looks cool, but these games are not for me.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. From someone I know who is a fan of this game, Sean Mason. Hello, Micah. I understand you're not a big fan of the 1,000-Year Door, but I'm curious, which partner did you like the most? Personally, I have a fondness for Vivian. Her journey of gaining confidence and finding herself was incredibly heartwarming. Best regards, Sean M.
Yeah, I'm going to say the little Yoshi that you pick up along the way.
I got that guy, yeah.
He's my favorite. I named mine Dashy. And he is probably my favorite. He's just so spunky.
Yeah.
and just, like funny. He's like he has that like Chihuahua syndrome of like he's very small, but he's like, oh yeah, let's go rough him up. Like he's just adorable, and I love his spirit. I think he had some of the funniest lines throughout the game, and yeah, I really did. Vivian was cool too. Like I liked all the partner characters.
Yeah.
I also
I liked
really
him.
like there's this like sailor guy Bobbery that you get. He maybe would be my favorite, but I just got so attached to my little Yoshi friend that I found myself, he would usually be my companion walking around the map. Like that's who I typically defaulted to of like we're wandering around and that's who I want by my side. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say him.
Yeah, Yoshis are cool, man. I liked I'm not very far in the game, but I liked Koops too, that little turtle.
Yes.
He was cool too. I liked him. All right, this is from Nicholas Brillhart. Greetings, summoners of the sign. I know Micah and Dustin didn't care for the narrative-heavy nature of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, but personally, it's why and many others adore it. I enjoy the colorful cast of characters and locations that break away from the traditional Mario themes, and it all somehow still works. Can you three think of any other franchises that could use a similar shakeup that throws the characters and locations out of the norm for them? Have a call and drop to sort it out on sacred symbols kind of day. Hey, that's my shtick, Kyle. Or Colin, not Kyle. Colin.
Yeah,
So let's
honestly,
see. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what I would like to see kind of shaken up this way. Besides, as I've mentioned before, I really love Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans, which is an RPG style take on the Saiyan arc of the show. They never did another one. I implore them, stop making these fucking fighting games. I don't want them. All right, I love Dragon Ball Z. I suck at fighting games. Like, I know it makes sense. I know that's the whole show. I know it makes sense, but a turn-based RPG in Dragon Ball Z land was amazing, and it's one of the best games I ever played. And just do it again. Like, I don't understand why they can't just give me one more. All right, do the Frieza arc. You know what? I'd accept a time skip, and they do a different arc too. I don't care, but like, it boggles my mind that they're just like, new Dragon Ball Z game coming out, same shit as always. Goku's origin story for the 500th time, fighting in the sky for the millionth time, and I'm just like, I don't want it, and I don't like it, and I'm sick of it. But like, no, don't give, like, please don't take Kirby and give him a bunch of dialogue. Don't ever do that. Like, I don't want that to ever happen. All right, I like Kirby for what it is. He just shuts up and he goes and fights dudes. It's great. It's awesome. But yeah, that's the only one that comes to mind is like Dragon Ball Z, man. Turn-based games. Do it. They're fantastic. You made a really great one. Do it again.
Do it again. Cog, anything you could think of right now?
Yeah, I was thinking Halo as a person who played, Halo Infinite and, started to get into the story of Atriox through Halo Wars 2 prior. There's a part of me that's like, man, I hate that we got to wait so long for the continuation of these stories. So for me, I want like side quests. Like they have so many people in this universe. Like, for example, like where the hell is Spartan Locke? Is he dead? Is he alive from, Halo 5 Guardian? So like, can we get like a spinoff? Can we get a turn-based Halo? Man, I would go crazy for a turn-based Halo, like, that kind of thing. Just like kind of shake it up a little bit so that, we already know there's enough pressure on 343 as it is to deliver, quality Halo games. But, maybe allow another studio to get a crack at a different genre and a different take of something in the universe. And I think it would really help the Halo universe. I loved when Gears came out with Gears Tactics. I think that game is absolutely amazing, criminally underrated by Splash Damage. I thought the Cinnamons rivaled Gears 5, and they told an amazing story. And it was a unique, fresh take on turn-based that I've never seen. Overwhelming odds, execution, keep going. It was challenging. So I want to see Halo get into that bag, kind of things. I don't want to have to wait so long to find out what the hell, is happening in this universe kind of thing. So that's mine.
Yeah. Speaking of Halo and Gears, this is what I was thinking too, Cog, is survival horror games in those universes. I feel like you could definitely do that with Halo, with like the Flood or something.
Yes.
You're not a Spartan or anything. You're just some normal person, like a scientist or something. I don't know. Trapped on a space station with the Flood, like Dead Space, something like that.
Yeah.
I think with whatever freakos they got in Gears of War also, like, let's say like you could have like a game where you're fighting the locusts, but well, there's only like one main locust. Think of Alien Isolation, but there's one main locust walking around with no gun or anything like that. He's got to like grab you, but there's also like little other creeps crawling around that you got to deal with, and you got nothing pretty much. You got to fight your way out of this. You're just a normal person. I think could be really fun.
Mhm.
Those games could have horror
awesome.
elements to them. Yeah, they
Yeah.
could have horror
absolutely.
elements.
Gears 1 is very scary. Like
Yes.
Gears 1 is dark. Like
It's
literally
dark.
the lighting is very dark. There's this one section, you in like a train station or on a train, there's all the wretches all come out and they're like flooding around you. Like it's terrifying. I remember being like,
Mhm.
holy shit, this is scary.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
Gears 1 has some definitely creepy moments. That would be awesome to take
Yeah.
those enemies and or have it be like it's like General Rams coming to get you or something like
Yeah.
that. Like
Mhm.
that would totally work. Brad, you gotta send that. We gotta get Microsoft on the horn. Somebody call Phil.
That's the vibe they're saying. When I read the notes from Emergence Day, that they're going back to the horror and the aspect of Gears 1. And what I remember, especially, Micah, was the section with the krill where you had to go from these light
Yes.
sections, and you had to be careful, otherwise you got caught in the dark and they come an instant kill. And even
Yeah.
moments when you fight the berserker for the first time, you have no weapon, this thing's coming at you, it's unstoppable, no guns can kill it, kind of thing, until you get outside and you get the hammer. Those are the moments that made Gears special to me, because they was truly terrified. They were horror moments. So yes, I am all for that. Let's bring that back.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about our final game. Cog Still Wakes the Deep. Not I wrote Still Wakes the Keep. The Deep.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
This was remember I spoke to you earlier and I'm like, yo, bro, I've been playing nothing but Halo. Destiny. So I'm like, damn. But I said, you know what? I could use a little palate cleanse. After playing about 30 hours, I was like, let me take a little break and try something. I was like, I had my eye on this game from Still Wakes the Deep. It was, I think they showed it at like a third-party Xbox showcase or something, and it was kind of like a horror game. You're based on an oil rig, and I'm like, all right, this is a unique locale. I don't see this a lot, kind of thing. So the name of the studio, they have the funniest name. It's like a UK-based studio named Chinese Room, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, it's the Chinese Room. Okay.
Yeah, I had never heard of them. So yeah, I heard they have a history or whatever. So the cool thing about it, it's like 1970s, Scotland or whatever, like oil rig, and these Scottish guys are working off the coast of it. The reason why I definitely tried it is shout out to a friend of mine. He's like, Kyle, you got to play it. It has the best voice acting in gaming. And I'm like, calm down.
Whoa, best voice acting.
When someone says that, I'm like, relax. Let me see. You're bloviating. Okay. I will admit, playing this game, what makes it cool is, again, the unique locale of an oil rig. It starts off kind of normal. You're like learning things, how, like almost like a construction worker, what people on oil rigs do, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. And it's a fully, teamed out. You have a full crew. You go into different parts and sections of the oil rig. And it's what I would consider like natural conversational slang Scottish, right? To the point that sometimes when they're talking, like I guess they're using slang. So like if you have subtitles on, it'll actually explain what, if they use a one particular word, that's a slang. And it's really good. It's absolutely hilarious. So it just threw me off. I'm like, I didn't expect the game to be like this kind of thing. So right off the back, I will say my only issue, the engine is okay. There's some platforming aspects you can run. My only issue is that the running feel like you're still running in molasses. You don't feel like you're truly running. But I was like, all right, I'll get over that. And it's a little light on the control, but you can platform. The thing is, when the game now, what I consider starts to go left, and a situation starts to happen on said rig. And what's really cool is, again, figuring out what's going on, the sense of being claustrophobic in certain areas of this oil rig. It has a bit of, all right, I don't play a lot of horror games, so this mechanic has probably been done before, but what I like is that when you have sections that you run, you could press, I believe, the right analog stick in, and you get an immediate view of what's chasing you.
Cool.
Right? So I like that. I was like, okay, that's cool. Then it has what you mentioned earlier, a little bit of Alien Isolation. So when you go, I knew the game something was going to happen in the beginning, because even though nothing had happened, I walked past a locker and it said like press X to hide. And I'm like, you're going to have me doing these kind of things lately and stuff like that. But I will admit, like, absolutely terrifying situations. It is a mind trip at one point, or what, as far as what's going on, and the crew is. You ever played this game called The Thing? I don't know if it's an
I
older game.
know. Yeah, I've heard. I haven't played it, but yeah, I'm aware of it.
So it's a little bit of that vibe where things are happening to the crew. Everyone's kind of disappearing, and you're fighting for your life, kind of thing. And I think it's really well done. The more I'm playing it, the more I'm liking it, and I can't stop putting it down right now. So apparently, people say it's a short game, so I'm probably about 4 or 5 hours in. But I am absolutely loving it. I think the oil rig is the perfect setting for this, right? And it's falling apart, and the character is very compelling. And it's a ton of dialogue in this game. Ton of dialogue, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, that kind of stuff. So yeah, still wakes the deep. You have a fan of me right now. I want to see how this thing wraps up. I'm gonna try to get it done before Duke this Wednesday when we record. And yeah, so far so good. I am definitely a fan. And the game's in Game Pass for those, just want to check it out.
Cool.
So it's a Game Pass game to get, and yeah, I've been loving it so far. So still wakes the deep. You have my attention, Chinese room. Even though you're UK and you got Scottish actors.
Yeah. I think the oil rig you said is a really cool setting because you are stranded essentially out in the ocean. There's nowhere really to go unless you got like a boat, I guess. But I'm sure everything goes crazy. You don't have that kind of stuff. Cog, is there anything? So it sounds like you're hiding a lot from whatever's going on in this oil rig. Do you get any tools to help you fight back or anything like that?
Well, what you have is you'll notice anything that you encounter, you have the option to pick up. So the game wants you to get into a distraction mechanic for said things to throw. So you don't have like weapons per se. This is not you're going to feel powerful and you're going to get a gun. And this is not that game. This is, you have to hide, you have to survive. You have to also, when things fall apart around you, platform and climb up ladders, things like that, hold on to structures that are falling apart, that kind of thing. There's sometimes when you go on the outside of the ring and you're at very high places where you have to go through very small spaces at a high altitude so that you don't fall. It has height fears. So the outside and inside portion of it has different things that mess with your fear, just things that you may be scared of, kind of thing. If you're afraid of heights, this is definitely a game that's going to mess with you at certain points.
Oh, never mind then.
I mean, it's not that much of it, Micah, but they give you the illusion like, okay, don't look down, and the character himself is talking himself through certain things too. Then, you have your classic, you come across like these work phones across the thing and you're picking up, you're hearing about other members. Oh my God, what's happening? That kind of thing. And, cool. Abrupt silence, classic horror tropes in certain things. But like I said, it's really done well. And I think the voice, I've never played a game that had almost like fully Scottish voiced actors and actresses. It adds a flavor to it. It really does. Like I was honorary Scotsman for today. I was like, this is cool. Like I really feel like, and apparently these are like high end people that they've hired, kind of thing, like really famous people. So yeah, I recommend definitely try. But to your point, yes, you get like fire extinguisher sometime to clear out certain areas and stuff like that. But all the objects you use are not really for combat. It's more survival or to get through something or to distract something.
Cool. Love that. Just a quick question. So the structure of it, is it kind of like a more linear fashion, would you say? Or is it like you get to points where it's like you have these objectives and you can go on them any order you want? Anything like that?
I would definitely say more linear. First it'll be like, okay, get to the observatory, get to the cafeteria, get to this room, get to that room. Certain sections of that allow you to take different paths to get to an objective. But overall, the game is pretty linear. And again, if I didn't explain, it was first person game. It's not third person game. But I would say it's fairly linear. I would say.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Sounds good. Let's see. Meatball wrote in. I tweeted at Cog after he was praising the voice acting and still wakes the deep. Sounds like he's enjoying the game so far, which is dope. Hoping he can elaborate on how scary the game is. Us sissy bros are out here, and we gotta know if we can dive into it without needing a change of pants.
That's a good one. I think I remember you, Metaball, who hit me up when I put a tweet out, and I was
was it Metaball? I'm sorry, I thought it was Meatball for some reason.
You good? You good? So like I will listen. I don't usually play a lot of scary games, right? But I will say again, it's so unique there's going to be a jump scare moments for sure, right? But I think the fact that you could hide in a lot of different areas and stuff like that adds a different dimension to it. I will say sometimes when you go from the inside parts of the ring to the outside part, sometimes I feel relief. I don't know, like, all right, I'm outside. I'm not as confined. I'm not as constrained. But it adds different other aspects of hiding away from monsters on the outside and things of that nature too. So I think you'll be able to handle this one. I think this is one that, yeah, you got your tension, but you'll be okay.
Okay.
And
cool.
The character is hilarious too on certain things. So he helps you get through it because he's talking all the time.
Yeah.
He's experiencing things, what the F? I can't believe this. Like, it's that kind of thing going on too.
Cool.
If only
sounds awesome.
had the connect functionality like in Alien Isolation, where it's like, oh, like you farted and the alien heard it and it came and found you. If only we still had that. If only Microsoft had an abandoned Connect. I mean, just imagine it in this scenario too.
Oh my God, hilarious! I forgot about that.
All right, let's end the show with some comments and questions from the audience. Noah writes in, "Dear Summoners, when was the last time you were so excited to play a video game that you practically jumped out of bed and ran to the console? The last time I was that giddy was playing God of War 3 in Heavy Rain back in the day. Sincerely, Noah." What's the last game you played? You were like, I gotta get to it right now. Gotta play. Micah's looking around.
Mike is looking.
I know, I'm looking at the stack of games over there because it's like, I feel that way often. Like when I'm really hooked on a game, like it's got me. All right. Like generally speaking, like when a game really has me hooked, that's most of them because I try and pick things I know I'll enjoy. But I gotta actually say Animal Crossing New Leaf on 3DS was probably the most obsessed I ever got with a game because I kept it at my bedside. And the first thing in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd go like get all my fruit and I'd shake all the trees for money. Like this was like before work every day. I'd wake up, play for like 15 minutes. And then I would always have it like at bedtime, I'd play it again. Like that was literally, I was waking up and I'm not checking my phone first thing in the morning. I'm checking Animal Crossing. That was the last time I remember being like that obsessed with something.
Nice. Collar, are you feeling this with Destiny right now? Are you like, I gotta wake up early to play or something?
Destiny's a full-time job. And I'm the type of person who I like to be optimal, right? So when there are things that I haven't done as far as my kit, as far as exotic missions, as far as I would say like I'm very build heavy and I like good synergies between weapons and stuff like that. So there's certain things. Oh, and this thing about Destiny is like you also have, obviously exotics and things that you chase, but then there's legendary things that you get that get random rolls, right? So there's certain synergies. I'm like, man, if I could get it to drop with this combination, it'll be perfect with what I'm trying to do. And then obviously the fun factor of, hey, let's do a dungeon together. Hey guys, let's do the raid together, that kind of thing. And my entire clan of 100+ people playing at the same time, seeing everyone kind of rejuvenated and in party chats, 8-10 people on it. I love that stuff. So I would say that would be obviously more recent. But for my single player vibe, and why I kind of fell in love with turn-based is I would have to say XCOM does that to me. Especially XCOM 2, War of the Chosen, that kind of stuff is something about turn-based games that when it has its hooks on me, I just cannot stop. As far as how challenging it is or whatever, I got to keep going. So yeah, those are the two to really get its hooks on me.
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of weird. This year's been pretty crazy for me. Like I definitely was waking up earlier and staying up later when Rebirth was out, like when I was fresh with that. Elden Ring, I've been showing a lot of restraint. I definitely want to play it a lot more. I'm like, but like I've been holding off. And that 14 expansion's coming out at the end of this week, so that's probably going to be not good also for me. I'll probably be doing that. And of course, any mainline Zelda game that comes out, I'm like counting down the days.
Nice.
And I wake up early for that shit. So it's a great feeling, and I cherish it whenever it comes around. All right, this is from Hamish K. Good day, Circumsigns. I hope all is well. Are there any old games you want to play but haven't yet because you worry as soon as you do, a remake or something along those lines will get announced? I think Lord Beefy can relate to me with Gears of War, especially with the myth of the long-rumored Phoenix collection. I worry if I play them again, a collection will be announced. I know Dustin probably felt this with the Thousand Year Door. Have a good day, y'all. And remember, health is wealth. Looking forward to my shirt. All right. Let's see. Any games you're worried about playing or you're holding off on playing either because you think a collection's coming? I got a great example is Trails in the Sky. Maddie's been like kind of whispering in my ear. He's like, yo, bro, 20th anniversary coming up. Could rumors of a remake or remaster or something coming? I'm like, okay, man. I'm just going to wait on that for a little bit. I'm going to at least wait till the year's over before I commit to any of that stuff. What about you guys? Anything you could think of off the top of your head?
I mean, what comes to mind immediately is some of the like Mario and Luigi RPGs, like Bowser's Inside Story, like that I missed on 3DS. And I'm like, should I chance like trying to buy that and going back and play it there? Or do I think they're going to bring that forward as they're bringing like the Luigi's Mansion games forward, for example? Like that would be one for sure that I'm like, I don't know. Because some of like my random games I want to get to, like I have Breath of Fire for Game Boy Advance, and that's one that I did start, and I'm like, I don't really think I have to worry about them bringing this forward. Maybe they will. I don't really think I have to worry about that, right? But some of these other games on 3DS, I would say like, do I want to play this here, or do I think they might? But that's the first one I think of, something like Bowser's Inside Story that, was very well received, and with what they've been doing with some of their other games now, that one would give me pause to go back and play there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Cog, anything for you?
Yeah, I'm in a tough spot because, obviously with the whole Xbox acquired Activision Blizzard King, I was surprised we didn't get any backward compatibility announcements at the showcase. That was one thing that I pegged them to definitely do. And I'm a huge War of Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron. I'm a huge Marvel Ultimate Alliance fan. So it's like part of me is like, all right, I want to pull the trigger on these things, but I got this funny feeling you guys are going to add these to the service and when and stuff kind of thing. So that's my thing. There's so many of these classic games that I feel it's a treasure trove of older games that they probably have the licenses and they could add to the back compat program. And I even think about the OG Tenshus. That's part of, that thing is, bro,
yeah,
that's my heart. I know Mike is anti-stealth for Cog, the ninja.
Ricky Maru, our boy.
Ricky Maru, baby, let's go. I need my caltrops and all the stuff and the rooftops. And I love that type of stuff. So yeah, Tenju to me is always, to me, what true ninjutsu is, you know what I'm saying? You can't take on everybody, kind of thing. So I'm dying to know what's the plan so I can, adjust accordingly, or are they going to do remakes and not, bring the old, what are they going to do? So with these older games that I'm sitting on. Yeah,
definitely. Hopefully something with Tenshu, for God's sakes. Something, yes,
please.
All right. This is from Evan. Hey, Summoners. In addition to Zero Mission's updated visuals and quality of life gameplay improvements of the 86 NES Classic, a brand new section was added to the endgame, complete with a new final boss fight. Can you think of any remakes that have added completely new areas / bosses to the original game? If none come to mind, are there any games you'd like to see remade with additional content outside of graphical and gameplay improvements? Cheers. I brought this up earlier, but Resident Evil Remake is a prime example of this, of adding new content and just shooting that up in the stratosphere of quality. Like the Lisa Trevor encounters, a lot of the stuff outside, brand new, all good stuff. Any remakes you could think of that do this well, or any you would like?
So many.
There's lots to choose from.
Tons to choose from. The one that I want, I'm feeling fairly lucky with the stuff that I've been getting, you know what I'm saying? So I think of like the Mass Effect Legendary Edition stuff. For the most part, I got what I want there. I know Hogue is a huge Andromeda fan. Wasn't the biggest one. I probably need to give that one a shot. So maybe if they did something, they wanted to give a little care to that prior to, if they do a Mass Effect, 5 after Dragon's Age, probably something I might be. I'm trying to think. I think I kind of got most of the stuff I want. So I've been lucky. I've been lucky to get all this, the Renaissance stuff. But I don't know. What about you, Mike? Any things that come to mind for you?
Yeah, in terms of games I've played, not really in terms of like adding new enemies. Like, for example, what came to mind thinking of like quality of life improvements was Wind Waker. and how they updated the way that like the boat traversal, right? Because
Mhm.
everybody hated that, the way you go across the ocean and all that shit before. So things like that come to mind. To answer like the second question of like what would you like to see remade with more content, if indeed there is like a Witcher 2 remake ever coming, that'd be sweet just to see some more bosses thrown in. I never get sick of fighting monsters in The Witcher. Like Witcher 3 as well, it's like if they ever redid that one and added like more monster contracts, added more, bosses, just the random ones lurking in the woods type deal, like I'd be all over that. That's a game I would never get sick of having more content in.
Yeah, totally.
No doubt.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I always just think of Zelda in my head. I'm like, if you just remake it, just add a new dungeon or something. I always just come back to the same well with that shit.
Yeah, always Zelda. I got you.
I don't know. You could, if they ever remade like Castlevania Symphony of the Night or something like that, they could add in some new parts of the castle or the stuff that was only in the Saturn version that was never in the PlayStation version. But unfortunately for the Saturn version, that game did not run good on Saturn. Not at all.
Yeah,
but it had like an extra area, like a garden and stuff like that, which
you
I
got
was
me
always
thinking
jealous
now.
of.
Now you got me thinking. As a Sega kid, one of the things that I know is going to be controversial. A lot of people like Phantasy Star Online, and I get it. That has this huge following. But I'm an original Phantasy Star guy. When they were classic JRPGs, Phantasy Star 1, 2, and 3 and 4. If they were able to remake those, I would love those. To me, those are classic JRPGs. That really got me into JRPGs. So, yeah, the Phantasy Star series prior to the online one, those the hardcore. We consider those the real.
Sure,
and we don't feel like they've gotten any love, since the Genesis and the Master System days.
I was gonna say, how many of them were on Master System?
That's
just probably
one.
Why.
Just one. Fantasy Star
2 through 4 were on.
2 through 4 were on. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I would love it.
Cog would be a prime example for that series, or those would to get a like pixel remaster version or an HD 2D. That'd be really cool for them to do that for those games.
I look at what's happening with, what is it, Dragon Quest, and that's what they paid in mind. Because again, when I play Fantasy Star, it's the classic, you see the 4 characters walk in unison, and that gives me Fantasy Star memories. I'm like, yes, I would love that for my Fantasy Star. That's what it came back to me.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Come on, Sega, get on that.
Get on that.
Get on that, Sega. All right, last question. This is from Jordan Faldudo. Hey, Brad, I'd like to hear your thoughts about Octopath Traveler series. The recent releases have the series back in the zeitgeist, and I figure now is a great time to discuss it with this turn-based trio. So yeah, Octopath Traveler 1 came to PlayStation because it was never on there, and Octopath Traveler 2 came to Xbox because it wasn't on there. Bizarre series of skipping games on platforms and it was a mess.
Square being mercenaries.
It was a mess. Yeah, it was a whole lot of mess. But in terms of Octopath, I played like 20 hours of the first one, and I liked the concept, but I didn't think the story was strong enough for me to stick with it. Because the combat is cool, but it was it's like Bravely Default's combat, and I've played several Bravely Default games, so it wasn't really doing anything new for me at the time. So I fell off it, which I was very bummed about. But I haven't played 2, and I've heard 2 is excellent. People said 2 is amazing.
Maddie's threatening me right now.
Yeah, I just haven't played it yet. I haven't gotten to it. I know people will not shut up to me about that. That game and like Trails fans, dude, they always are like, yo, you gotta try this. Just never ends. But what about you two? I know you guys like the turn-based Micah, especially you're on the Switch all the time with those turn-based games. What about you in Octopath?
Oh yeah, I played both of them. I have the storybook edition of Octopath Traveler 1.
Ooh.
Like I was hyped for that game. I played the demo when it was announced. I immediately went and pre-ordered it. I am the weirdo who likes the first game more than the second one. I just liked that cast of characters a little bit better. I know they're not quite as like fleshed out as in the second game, but I just liked those characters. I really liked that storyline. I started with Primrose, who's the dancer. Her story is like really sad, and I loved it. So like Octopath is another game that like made me cry. There were some moments in it that were really heartfelt. So I liked that game a lot. I liked the sort of self-directed nature of it, of you're going to choose the order in which you acquire these party members. You're going to choose the order in which you complete their chapters. I enjoyed Octopath Traveler 2 a lot. I loved that gameplay again. You and I, Brad, are kind of opposites of I played Bravely Second on 3DS. I didn't play Bravely Default because it was really hard to get. And so I started Bravely Second because people said you could. And I liked the gameplay, but I wasn't crazy about the story, right? And so Octopath for me was like story plus the gameplay. And I just really enjoyed it. I loved how it was presented. Like the look of the game is just gorgeous. Like just some of the prettiest pixel art. The light effects are really cool. It's like Michael, who's that guy? Was it Michael Kincaid? Who is that guy? Thomas Kincaid, the guy who makes those like grandma Christmas paintings and puzzles, but like the candles look real. Like it felt like that for me. It felt like I was living in like Thomas Kincaid land. And so I love those games. I'm not gonna force them on anybody. All right, I'm not one of those gamers, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you don't have to play the first one because they aren't connected, so you can start with the second one. Yeah, that's a different cast of characters. You can start with the second game if you want to, and you're really not losing much. I played both of them on Switch and had a great time. My thing with those games is those are the type of JRPGs where you beat the whole game and then it's like, oh, but there's like, well, we still haven't finished everything, and I'm like, I'm not doing this, man. I'm not that guy. I'm like, I played the whole game. I'm out. I'm not grinding for 10 more hours to go fight some wizard in a cave or some shit that you've contrived for me to be like, oh, actually, I'm not done. I'm done. All right, but otherwise, I highly recommend them. I do enjoy them a lot.
You can let me know if this isn't two, but I remember in one, when you would like meet up with party members, it all felt very extremely disconnected. I would say like the characters don't mesh at all together. It's like they don't even exist with each other.
Yeah.
Is that something that kind of they improve upon in 2?
They tried to, they tried to give you a little bit more character interaction in 2. They definitely try to. It's still, because the nature of the game that you can do things in like any order and with any combination of party members, like you still only have, 4 people equipped at a time and there's 8 party members. So when you arrive at a new, settlement, let's say, it's like, well, who's in your party is who you're going to chat with. So they try to do that, but it still doesn't feel quite the same as something like, I don't know, something like, it's one of the Tales games where it's like, okay, everybody gets the inn and we have a big story moment with all the party members and everybody's chatting. Like, it doesn't feel like that still. Okay. But they did try to make it feel a bit more like you care about each other. That's something, it's a disconnect for sure of that feeling of camaraderie isn't there. It really does feel like each character is on their own mission and they're just sort of along for the ride with the others. It doesn't feel like you're all best friends or anything. It's definitely not like Persona, where you're along the way building these bonds with people. That's not there, and that is missing, I think, for an RPG. I mean, that's a big part of the game and what you would expect out of it.
Cog, any interest?
Yeah, I got to get
on Game Pass, right?
It's on the backlog. I had a conversation with Maddie last week, and that I had kind of like part 1 guilt because I'm like, yeah, I started it, but I'm like, can I even be allowed to? And he was like, bro, 2 is. He said same thing, Mike. He's like, you could completely do 2. I was like, really? So I just felt thrown back by that. But now Mike can confirm, and literally, like they're not as connected as what. And he recommended it. He was like, bro, start 2, you're fine. And I'm like, okay. So I think the only difference he had with you, Mike, is that I think I get the vibe that he likes 2 better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot because again, I like the pixel art style. These are classic JRPGs, and I think the compromise for me now is that being that I generally don't have a lot of time to play all these games, right? But the compromise for me is I do travel a lot, and I said, you know what, these are perfect ROG Ally kind of games that I can kind of download natively from the Game Pass app onto my device, and then play this when I'm on that, the 6-hour plus flights, traveling as much as I travel. So I'm like, I'm going to start doing my JRPGs, especially in that style, on the portable. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And like one thing I'll say too about Octopath Traveler 2 is that they do change up how it's structured. Like Octopath 1 is extremely predictable because you have 8 characters, each one has 4 story chapters. Octopath 2 mixes that up, and like Octopath 1, each chapter really follows the same formula. So I liked the predictability because it sort of gave you a gauge of like how much of the game is left. It was kind of easy to say like, all right, each chapter you're going to do a dungeon, you're going to fight a boss. Like that's just kind of how it went. Octopath Traveler 2, very different. You know, one chapter might not even really have you going into a dungeon. Like one chapter might not even really have a boss. Like they mixed up how many chapters each character has, and they also changed the structure so that it's not the same chapter over and over again, rinse and repeat. I think that's a major improvement too that a lot of people enjoyed because it really does kind of throw you a bit more of like not knowing what to expect.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever play Live Alive, Micah?
No, I haven't. I wasn't sure if I'd enjoy it, but I have seen that game many times mentioned on Twitter, like all the people I follow. But no, I have not played it.
Okay. Because its structure is very similar in the sense of you pick which characters you want to play as, except they're like rapidly different. Like one of them's like an alien horror thing. One of them's like you're a ninja. One of them, you're like a Street Fighter character almost. It's like very different how they're laid out. So I'm curious what you'd think about those game or that game. Cool game though.
No, I should check that out.
Yeah, I think there was a demo. There probably still is, but if you're curious about it. All right, y'all. That's it. Another episode in the books, episode 26. Wow, it's been half a year. Yeah. Holy shit. We're getting there. Crazy times. Micah, thank you for joining me. Fun talking with you as always. And Cog as well. Thank you both for hopping in with me and talking video games. Always great talking with both of you. Before we go, is there anything you guys want to say before we get out of here?
A lot of fun. Good, Mike. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I just, this was a really cool one to do with Cog because we've been able to finally be on a few more episodes together recently. Previously, like we had just like barely ever been able to be on shows at the same time. And so when I saw that Cog was the third seed, I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be awesome. So nice. No, thanks for having me, Brad. It was really fun to dunk on Paper Mario a bit more, and I was glad to have you guys with me for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun. Like I love the diverse lineup that we had, and like I said, good job, Brad, putting it together. This was a lot of fun.
Cool, great. Before we go, also make sure to check out Defining Duke Xbox podcast, where Cog is co-host with Maddie. Really fun listen. They get into it all the time. A lot of coping in there sometimes. A lot of sadness, but also some hope every now and then.
We be going through it. It's a range of emotions.
Those poor Xbox boys are going through it right now, but they're standing strong.
That's right.
And shout out to Maddie for getting that interview with Todd Howard.
Man,
Big get.
So proud of him.
Very proud of him. Loved it. It's a dream for Maddie. Awesome. And of course, check out Punching Up with Micah, Gene, and Dustin. They talk all things Nintendo. It's bi-weekly, by the way, not every week, so be aware of that. I'll be filling in for Dustin, though, when he's gone on maternity leave. I'm taking over. Substitute teachers coming.
All right. Subs coming in. Okay.
Yeah, the subs coming in, so it'll be fun. But yes, everyone, thank you for writing in. I can't get to every write-in. I read every entry, though, so I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Of course, if I butcher any of your names, I'm sorry. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, we're going to get the hell out of here. Thank you for listening, everybody. We will see you next episode. Take care, and goodbye. Summon Sign is a product of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and hosted by me, Brad Ellis. The show is produced by Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Summon Sign, along with the rest of Last Stand's media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we are grateful for your kind contribution and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.